Hey there guys, how you doing? I've wanted to do something with this channel for a wee while now, and I thought, why not? I might as well do something with Chainsaw Man, because it's kind of my current obsession. For some reason, I don't really know, because when the anime came out, I watched it like 6 months later, and I didn't really think it was that great. I thought it was like, it's alright, it's like a 6, maybe a 7 out of 10. Didn't really understand the full hype behind it, but I hadn't seen any of the other Fujimoto's works or anything at that point, so I know he had a bit of a cult following around him, that really did push it up, but also, it's called Chainsaw Man, which is kind of a dumb name. It's really weird to talk to people in work and be like, I'm going to see the Chainsaw Man movie on Friday, and there's like, Chainsaw Man? You're like, don't you know what? If you actually read it, it's a lot weirder than just sounding like a chainsaw man. So yeah, I decided I might as well do something because the popularity poll ended yesterday. It's a third popularity poll. If you want to get in ground floor on seeing people probably have a meltdown, this will probably be a really good time to get in because it's going to be really weird to see how the popularity changes because I'm guaranteed if like Power's not in like the top 5, people will still have a meltdown. Now, obviously, there's going to be kind of recency bias on both ends because the movie just came out, so I'm assuming Reze is probably going to score like really, really highly, and Makima's probably not going to score very well because everyone's really hitting her right now. But like, I think also because this is mainly aimed at like the manga readers instead of the anime readers, so the second part manga characters are probably going to score a lot higher. Now I'm up to date with part 2, like I said, but it's like the most mixed bag I've ever seen. I'm really not fussed on it right now. I'm kind of hoping something just happens. Like, I'm at that point where can something just can it happen? Can it just please happen? I don't know. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's going to end soon." I personally don't think it's going to end that soon because I don't think it's going to be a part 3 because of power scaling issues. I'll probably talk about that during this whole thing. Now, this is going to be long. Skip. There's going to be chapters put down, so I guess skip to whatever you want to listen to, or just sit me on the background if you're doing your mopping or something like that. I don't fucking know. Tier list is pretty simple. Kino is best of the best. Great is like a 9 out of 10. There's very few flaws with them. Fine is like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, maybe a 6, you know. Wasted is like, I don't want to just do like everyone in the world here. I don't want to be like, oh, well, the Screaming Girl. If the Screaming Girl was the Screaming Girl Devil, she'd be the best. I don't want to do that. I don't want to headcanon people. I just want to like try and say this person's currently in it and they're not doing great, or this person was wasted. Is like the other side of a neutral score from fine. It's kind of like maybe like a 3 or 4 out of 10. It's like, yeah, they exist, I guess. Okay. Trash is obviously just bad. Who is going to be a whole bunch of characters, probably because I took these screenshots like 2 weeks ago because I was going to do this when I was running and I kind of forgot about it. So let's get into it. The first Who's are female Aki and female Denji. I don't know why when I took the screenshot, I just looked and was like, okay, so they've kind of got like the high ponytail, looks like a top knot, and this one just looks like Denji. Is there some reason for that? Because these are, if you don't know, they're Death's friends. They're just people in the background in one scene. Because in 215, Death and Yoru are facing off, and Death's like, I can just one-shot you, and Yoru's like, oh, well, you can't because your powers are too uncontrollable, and you'll accidentally kill your friends, but also, by the way, I also have your friends hostage, and they will be killed if you kill me. And I was like, oh, you don't really need both of those. Like, if the power is too powerful, I feel like the hostage thing is entirely unnecessary, because you just know she'll accidentally kill them anyway, so what's the point? Especially when Pochita is able to just cut up Yoru, and at no point the people holding the hostages going to kill the hostages, so Death will be like, no, Pochita, stop doing that, they'll kill my friend. I feel this is just an ass pull. I personally, the famine and Death thing, I actually still think it's reversed. I still think the person who's claiming to be Death right now is still famine, they're still famine, and the person who we think is famine is Death, and maybe that's why they got rushed to be turned in Japan so quickly. I'll talk about them later on, but I think it's a bit of an asshole. If it does turn out that this is Death's friend, and this is literally the reason why, it's like, these are nameless background characters who appear in like one panel. it would be really weak if they actually did that. This is who's the blood donation girl? Like I said, I've got the names on the other screen here just in case I forget. They're the blood donation girl. They were there, they held up a blood sign during the Aging Devil fight, and I think Pochita held up the sign like a Looney Tunes character and go like, I need blood. It's like, alright. I'm gonna put all the animals straight away into like I realize they're there for the Pochita eating things and Erasure thing. I know like a cat's a meme. I'll talk about the Erasure thing later on. I'm just generally not fussed on it. Now, first wasted is going to be the Japanese Prime Minister. That's mainly because I'm not here for the fights, because a lot of the fights I find to be kind of boring. Anytime, especially like Black Chainsaw Man shows up, because most of his fights are just like super instant one shots on like the low level jobber guys, or even on like the high rank people. It's often just like one shots because it's like teleport through people and then limbs fly in every single direction. I don't find them particularly interesting, but I want to know what the world's like. I'm a world and character guy. It's why I like Chainsaw Man, because I'm like, this is an alternate universe. It's really interesting. I wonder how the police work. I wonder how public safety works. I wonder how the government works. You know, you like the Japanese Prime Minister could be sitting here, and sitting next to him could be one of the horsewomen, and no one knows, or someone with maybe has a contract with the Justice Devil, and they know all of your evil deeds. And it's like, that's actually really cool and interesting. and then when he appears, he doesn't do anything. He's the guy who had a contract with Makima, and you could have thought, okay, maybe Makima tricked him and made him do the contract, and he's actually not a bad guy, and she chained him or something like that. But then he's like, no, I want to sacrifice 10,000 children so my ancient ass can live forever. It's like, oh, so he is just awful then anyway. It's you kind of want to see what the world is like during an apocalypse, and then you cut to like the government and public safety having a meeting with the aging devil, and it's like they're sitting down for tea in like a country house, and you're like, in the other scenes, like buildings are flying in the air. It doesn't feel like it's connected whatsoever, and I feel it's kind of wasted. But I know a lot of people don't care. They're like, I just want to see Pochita cut up people. I like to know a bit more about the world. Sentry Gun goes straight in the trash. Just for two reasons. I'm going to say two reasons a lot, I feel. I've got to read Denji. There's two choices. Firstly, Yoru's powers are kind of a bit all over the show. Now, with Makima, like, I never really felt in the first part that anytime she did a power, I was like, how does that? Well, that doesn't really make sense to me. But with Yoru, it's like, how do you feel like you have ownership of that? I know like it's kind of like hand wavy. It's like, oh, Asa used her college fund to buy like a share, so she feels she owns it now. It's like, I feel like you could just exploit that to like no end if you really, really wanted to. I feel it's a wee bit like silly. Also, it's just part of a really bad arc. It was when Denji got kidnapped and they went in and saved him instantly, and you're just like, oh, that felt really pointless. Like I don't even remember why he got kidnapped. It was one of those ones that just happened, and then they saved him instantly. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. That felt like a big waste of time. So I don't really think it really did anything, explored anything. Who are you? I'm trying to help Nayuta, the woman who did. I don't remember you. You're probably part of the mob. The room sword. It's just out of the transformations, it's not one that really stuck with me. I think it's when public safety's cracking down. They're going to arrest her, and Yoshida cuts her arm off. I think this is the first time she like transformed a weapon without like touching it or something like that. It was just it didn't really stick with me. Chainsaw Motorcycle kind of goes in trash though. Okay, so I kind of want the manga to decide, is it like a really deep, introspective, thoughtful piece to exploring trauma and stuff like that, or is it like pulpy schlock, kind of like a Planet Terror movie or something like that? Because we just seen Asa go through all this like horrible events because of the falling devil's power, and she's seeing all the worst events of her life flashing before her eyes. And then 5 seconds later, she's like, oh, I'm driving around in my chainsaw motorcycle, and then they write like, a poem about it, and it's like, it just feels a wee bit too silly for like how serious the scene before it was. And there's some similar to that, but I think this is the worst example of it, where the tone shifts a bit much. I know he based like he kind of based some of it off The Chaser, which is like a Korean movie, and I know Korean movies often have like serious melodrama next to like kind of wacky, kind of odd comedy that doesn't really seem to fit. I know he's kind of going with that tone, and it seems to be his type of humor. Not really my type of humor, so I don't really like it. It also is, once again, two choices. It's the second one is Denji in part 2 being a gooner. It's probably the more subtle one. Asa, for some reason, points at some woman on a motorcycle and is like, steal her motorcycle, even though that would like leave that woman to die. So like, it's not great for Asa's character because she's meant to be like the nicer one of the two. And then she's like, no, I can't do that. And she's like, okay, we'll steal that man's motorcycle. Then he's like, oh, sweet, no problem. I can't goon to him. I'll just steal his motorcycle. And he's like, okay, like there's a lot worse examples, but it's again, can we not? Who's this? Oh, that's Clambon. Fucking. I was gonna put in fine, but I'm gonna put in instead. It just feels like it's one twist of the knife too much, because Fujimoto really likes to write really, really tragic characters, like overtly tragic characters, and you're just like, okay, bro, I get it. Because you start off by saying like, look, this character is sad. You know, they're bullied, they're socially awkward, they're finding it hard to like adjust. Their mom got killed by a devil, their dad got killed by a devil, stuff like that. And you're just like, oh, okay, well, I feel sorry for them. You know, I lost a parent too, so I kind of relate to them, and I understand. You know, I can be socially awkward sometimes. I can relate to them. And then he's like, oh, and then also this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Do you feel bad for them? I said, bro, I already felt bad for them. I don't need 17 layers of trauma for me to relate to a character, for them to have an interesting character arc. Clambon was kind of like the first twist on ice. We obviously got a newer one in 2017, where this is the cat that she had saved that caused her mom to die. And obviously, it could be a bit more interesting because of the 217 reveal that she tripped on purpose with her dad. So it might be similar to this one. But then it's like, oh, well, and then the random Miss Hitler who runs the orphanage takes the cat and then kills the cat. And then by chance, another one of the kids from the orphanage finds the body and tells Asa. And then Asa asks the woman, she's like, no one's allowed to have a family. And she's like, okay, it feels like a wee bit too much. It's maybe meant to be a bit of a reflection on Denji, because obviously Denji found Pochita, who's kind of like a dog. She found this cat, who's like a cat, and this cat was killed, whilst Pochita wasn't. So I feel maybe it's meant to be a bit of a reflection between the two, but it's still, I feel it's weak. The Aquarium Spear, is just It's similar to Sentry Gun, but not as bad. It feels like an infinite money glitch. I don't think that's how Eternity Devil worked in the first part. Now, I haven't read the first part in a fair while, and part 2 I have read through as well, but it's right after part 1. So my memory's not the best in the world. So I don't remember if it happened in part one, but I'm pretty sure in part one they were stuck in like a single like corridor with rooms, and it didn't loop. And every single time you went through it, you got new gear. But for some reason in this one, they could just do that to collect more and more money until she felt in her head she had like $10,000 or something like that. She's like, "I'm buying the aquarium, it's mine now." And it's like she's 17, she's not that stupid. Can we just not? So yeah, it was just kind of it was like I also she was separated from Yoru. This might be a reading comprehension devil because, like I said, it has been a while. She was separated from Yoru, so how was she able to use her powers still? So I don't really know. Penguin is just as well because it's Penguin. I don't care. The uniform sword is fine. It was one of the first transformations Asa think did herself. I don't know if she maybe did like an Erasure sword or something like that before, but it was cool. It was a way to introduce like guilt is an important part in making something. Obviously, this came from her mother, so I think it was fine. It was good, a good introduction to it. I don't think guilt has really played too big a role since. It's not really been heavily hinted at. Maybe with like gun and tank, but I think that's really it. I'm gonna have to put this person who, because I had them saved as cooler death because I like the hat and the cool, and I thought this was death. And then I saw people arguing not too long ago with like, no, that's actually not death. That's just a random girl who's in the devil hunting club, and she got injured during the fight with Yuko, and she then left the club. And I was like, oh, kind of weird. People said that her socks changed during the fight, and I was like, okay, well, that could be like a part two, just art issue in general. But I always thought this was death, just hiding her horsewoman eyes, because for some reason we're the only people who are able to notice the horsewoman eyes. No one in public safety saw Makima's eyes and was like, huh. Those are kind of weird, bro. Are you a devil? So yeah, I kind of thought that's what we were hinting at, this death hanging about in the background, but apparently it's not. I don't really know, okay? Crossbow guy, he's just, he was there during the Yuko fight. I don't know if he died or not. He was there. This is the Cockroach Cat. That's going trash. Sorry for anyone who's really big fan of the Cockroach Cat, but it's part of like a really cringe scene where it's just Denji being his most like, I'm so cool anti-hero edgelord. It's like, okay, bro, because he's given like a version of the trolley problem in real life where it's like, okay, well, here's like this young student. Oh, this guy actually here. I'm gonna put you in wasted because his story's gone nowhere. Here's this young male student, he has his life ahead of him, and here's 5 old people. Which one are you going to save? And then he's like, well, actually, I'm going to choose the third choice. I'm going to choose the cat. Yeah. And like I said, it kind of falls into the Gunner thing as well, because you know just full well, if it was a female student, Denji 100% would have saved them, because it's Denji in part 2. That's literally all he cares about at all now. It also just doesn't really work for him as a character, because we're like so far into it at that point. He's like, how has he still not got to a point where he values human life at any point? It doesn't make him like a likable or relatable character. The cat thing as well, it's like, okay, I'm sure he could have saved, because the cat was still hanging there after the Cockroach Devil died and fell. And it's like, okay, well, it feels like you could have saved one of the people and then saved the cat afterwards. So maybe if the cat was falling at the same time in the background, that would have made more sense. But maybe the art wasn't like consistent there to make it actually work out too well. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan. And then it ties into this guy, obviously. His story's not really going anywhere. I'll talk about him later when I talk about like Fakesaw Man and like Fire Devil. But yeah, his has been kind of wasted. Asa's mom is like fine. It feels like an extra twist of knife. The whole dad thing that was revealed in 217, where it was like, well, the dad was drunk and he was sometimes abusive, and then Asa tripped to like let him die, and Asa's mom for some reason doesn't look like this anymore. She looks like Asa now, and I was like, okay, is that meant to be like Asa's now projecting herself onto her mom, that she's a bad person and she like killed someone? Is that how she's doing it? She sees herself as her mom because her mom killed her dad, and she also relates to that because she feels like she also killed her dad by tripping deliberately to try and cause him to die. And it's like, that wasn't really explained in any way, wasn't really looked into whatsoever. I feel like it was a bit of a twist of knife too much. I related to her perfectly fine with just the mom having died. There's another character later on whose like parents died, and I relate to them totally fine. I think they have a much better tragic backstory than this one, where the dad thing kind of feels like they just needed once again to be like, no, but this, trust me, this is why her and Denji are like getting close and are good friends, because look, they both accidentally killed their dads. Kind of. It's like, oh, okay, cool. This is the random bully. She's just she was there. She died. Cool. Tanaka's Spine Sword was fine. I liked that it was like kind of body horror, and it was kind of like interesting the way it was done, because I think this is the first transformation we ever see. And like the sword is still screaming outwards, which give me the idea that the weapons are still alive after they've been transformed. It could be entirely wrong, but I always had in my head that Asa at some point is going to transform Denji, potentially to use him as a weapon to kill Yoru. That's kind of how I think it's going to go. I'm not 100% sure. Like maybe like once they think he's defeated, Yoru's going to separate from Asa, and Asa's going to use the weapon to kill. And then once Yoru's dead, because he's the War Devil, all the items turn back into what they're meant to be. I think that might be happen. Maybe it's not going to, but I thought it was kind of cool. Tanaka himself, though, is just like, he was there, I think, when Bucky got introduced, and he existed, and then he declared his love for Asa, and then got spine ripped out, so cool. The chairwoman, she was like, fine. did better than him. She was there as like a mini Makima just to like build up Asa and be like, yeah, you're gonna have your first friend. Yay, we're best friends. And then like try and kill her and then turn into a blob monster and just explode. So yeah, she's fine. She did it on purpose. Talk about Makima. I'm gonna have to put the blatant four fetish into trash. Some people probably go, "Oh, you're one of those guys. You like Makima." It's like, yes, I do like Makima, but it's not really for that particular reason. I feel like when you build up such a good villain, so much so that Makima's still talked about like years after she's gone from the manga. She's probably one of the most talked about characters still, even in the manga forums. People talk about Makima nearly as much as like the important characters that are going on right now because she's such a good character. And then you've got I ate her with love, and it's like, oh, fuck's sake. It just feels for when people argue the Chainsaw Man's so intelligent, doing the I killed her with love thing, it feels like Soul Eater at the end when they do like the power of friendship punch. It really is like, really, we're going for that trope? It's like, oh, okay. It feels like it was hard to try and get around the contract, and there are boring ways I feel you could have got around the contract, like just kill the Japanese prime minister because once he's dead, obviously the contract shouldn't really exist anymore. But like, fine, they went with this. I remember reading it the first time. I was like, really? Is that the ending we chose for this like really really great villain that they just kind of died in a bit of an ass-pully way? Okay. And I went to the next page, and it was a double-page spread, like the most detailed drawing he had ever done. And I was like, shit, oh, this is a four fetish. And then I read Fire Punch not long after that. I was like, oh, this is really just a four fetish. And then I read like the short stories. I was like, oh, he just has a four fetish. And then I heard things. These might not be accurate, so like grain of salt, this whole thing. But Makima apparently is the first character he planned. Her death was one of the first characters things he planned, because even on like the front cover of like Shonen Jump the first time it appeared, it was the blood chainsaw scene with like the her reflection in the chainsaw. So it's one of the first things he planned, which feels weird that it feels very ass pulling, kind of very rushed. But like Magma was also based on a woman who rejected him in real life. He also relates heavily to Denji. He also thinks about eating things you love, like his goldfish and stuff like that. There's also apparently he wanted to do a scene where Makima's body is actually butchered, and you're just like, someone told him, no, you're not allowed to do it. And it's like, thank God someone told him that, because it already makes Denji feel like a psychopath. It makes him feel like a serial killer. It's very weird sitting there talking to the woman you just cut up with a chainsaw, being like, I'm doing this out of love. We were going to join together. It's like, oh, calm down, bro. Okay. Not that it also be really cringe, but it kind of feels a bit unconsensual, because obviously Makima's relationship with Pochita is that she like seems to see him as like the only person who's like better than her, or at least equal to her, and she seems to have some form of love and affection for him. And that's why she thought it'd be an honor for him to eat her. It's kind of weird, and then Denji's doing like, I love you, I'm going to eat you, when she clearly had no feelings for Denji like whatsoever. So it kind of feels kind of a bit weird and twisted there, especially when Fujimoto's like sexual element kind of stuck in there. So I didn't think the whole thing was great in general, because I'm sorry, if you're frying up someone, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be like, I don't know what, that feels like love to me. So yeah, it didn't really work out, and I don't think it's particularly great. Blood Chainsaw, I don't want to put in trash, but I'll get like like kind of a generous. It feels kind of ass-play. I've kind of, ever since I read it, I was like, I kind of want to do like a breakdown on the final fight, because I feel like there are a lot of elements that are just kind of ass-play, and it feels like you have to be like accepting a lot of things that just suddenly are introduced. Like, okay, Pochita and Denji can separate suddenly. It's like, fuck, okay, I guess. Also, she's face blind suddenly. It's like, okay, I guess. Even like my favorite bit was like later on, Death Round. He goes, as you know, us horsewomen are face blind. It's like, thanks. I feel like he must have got pushback for that, and he was like, no, I have one of the other horsewomen also confirm it randomly, because then it makes it canon, guys. Okay, shut up, stop complaining about it. Also, she never recognizes scent. You're like, okay. Also, Denji was able to sneak into the group of public safety agents that she's all controlling, so you would have think that she would have noticed through someone else's eyes that he's sneaking into the group. But fine, okay, he didn't do that either. That he's able to turn power into a chainsaw, when it's like, how does she turn into like a mechanical item? But it's like, okay, fine. Once again, it feels like it's a lot of like, okay, fines that you have to do to really just accept that this whole makes sense. And I know a lot of people really like this scene, and it's fine if you do, because Makima's obviously the main villain, and there's a lot of people who just want to see her die because she's the main villain. And it's like, fine, cool, 100%, whatever you want to go for. In my opinion, it's for such a great villain, it's really poor to like kind of kill them off in kind of a bit of an ass-willy way. Now, I get the symbolism that they're meant to be going for, that, you know, it's a power chainsaw, that he's wearing a public safety uniform, so he's kind of like Aki. He also was kind of like Aki because he hid in the bodies, even though he wasn't alive for that bit, so he wouldn't have known that was a tactic that Aki had used against Reze, but like, sure, fine, whatever. It feels like there's too many things brought in, especially when, I'll say, okay, let's go with all of those assumptions, that she's face blind, she didn't smell him ever, even though he's always with Pochita, so for some reason she doesn't remember his smell, even though, like, it feels weird that she can make herself forget people's smells, but like, fine, fuck it, whatever. So she doesn't remember what power smells like, even though she hunted power and captured power, and she recently fought power. It's like, so she doesn't remember what power smells like because it's power's blood, so it should smell like power. But apparently she doesn't smell that either. It's like fine, cool, 100% whatever. And then also like power still being alive because some of her blood would happen to be in Denji's body, even though she was dead. Like it's fine. Can't remember that bit exactly if it was a contract or not. Even if it was a contract, it should have ended because power was killed. So it's like, so does she survive through even like a single droplet of her blood because she's the blood devil? I guess okay, fine. It also feels like a bit of a stretch. There's so many steps there, especially then when it's like okay, well then he cut her and she couldn't die. Sorry, she couldn't heal like very fast, I guess, from it. And it's like, oh, okay. It feels like the pain would still be transferred to someone else because that's kind of her thing. But even at that, she doesn't really seem to feel pain. She got her arm turned into the pretzel by the Darkness Devil, and she's still able to fight him after that, and still able to plan and do things. But apparently, this slash across her chest was just too much for her to deal with. But she was able to have a conversation with Denji, but she couldn't lift a finger and just say bang and kill him because he's a human. She's also super fast. She's able to call off Quanxi and Cosmos and the zombies Fiend's head in one swing around Quanxi's arms. But apparently she can't beat Denji, who's in human form, I guess. And just like, this all feels like too many things kind of like stacked on top of each other to be like, okay, and then she lost because you just like wrote yourself into a bit of a corner. And I wasn't really fussed in it. I'm sorry. My only read of it, I remember looking at it and I was like, I feel like she kind of like decided that she was going to die, that she kind of gave up. Because when she found out that the person she said, you're not the real Chainsaw Man, he wouldn't act like this, he wouldn't talk like this. And then she found out it actually was Pochita she was dealing with. Like, I guess she felt like heartbroken about that because the guy she thought she liked had like spat in her face and everything like that. And she's like, oh, fuck, okay. And I guess she kind of just accepted death. That's how I read it, as being like the only way that makes sense, really, because everything else is an asshole. But we'll move on. This guy's a who? I don't even know who you are, bro. Hey there, guys, this is me editing. I actually suddenly remembered who this guy is. He's actually a devil hunter who saw Pochita, I guess, kidnap Kobeni, maybe killed people in the burger shop, and he actually went and tried to help Kobeni, and then Pochita just, slaughtered him, because that's what he does. This is the burger shop guy. I kind of want to put him in trash, because that seems really bad for Pochita as a character. Like, I'm not fussed on Pochita as a character in general. I don't think he's handled very well. I think he's kind of boring for a lot of the plot. I'll talk about him more later. But, like, this is the scene where this guy, like, slaps Kobeni, and Kobeni, like, asks for help, and because Pochita's this cringe, like, I'm the hero of hell, I will go to anyone who asks for help, even though she didn't like ask him specifically for help. He just shows up, and then he kills a bunch of people, like, who weren't even involved in it, but he just kind of kills people. And I've seen people argue, it's like, oh, well, he's too powerful, and that's why he just wants a hug. He even said it himself, he wants a hug, but he's too powerful, he can't hug people. And it's like, yeah, then maybe don't go near normal civilians if you're just going to accidentally kill anyone standing near you. Because you killed this guy. If you want to argue, well, this guy slapped Kobeni, so it's fine that he died, I think that's fucking a bit of a stretch, but okay. But then he killed, like, the Burger Head mascot and another random guy, and then kidnapped Kobeni. I think this scene was just a setup, because they didn't want Pochita to lose, so they wanted to have, like, Kobeni there as a hostage, so Makima could target her instead, so then Pochita could do the whole, I'm the hero of hell, I'm going to save her again, and, like, jump on the way with the weapon. Yeah, I don't think it was great, just in general. It kind of really took away from Pochita's character, because I remember looking at it the first time I read it, and I really was like, wait, so is he just, like, evil? Is that his whole thing? Because he's clearly just evil. Because he's kidnapping someone and he's killing civilians, so he's just evil. And then when you look at the reaction of most people, like, he's so cool, and it's like, isn't he evil though? Like, isn't he evil? I always kind of in my head when I first saw this thought Pochita, the wee dog, cute dog, who's all like, yeah, he just give them hugs and smiles, that thing. I thought that was different than Black Chainsaw Man, because Black Chainsaw Man was just evil, and apparently wasn't. Finally, we got our first Kino, Tiramisu. Over here it says Denji's dogs, and I'm going to argue that it's not true. That's Makima's dog or Nayuta's dog. I'll give you a stretch. Denji hasn't given a shit since they burnt alive. I'm a big dog guy. I have a couple Malamutes myself, so big sled dog breeds I generally like. So I think these are Huskies. I only remember this dog's called Tiramisu because, like, Makima voices to the Tiramisu. He'd be like, hi, I'm Tiramisu, I rough you. Which I can't wait for that to be anime, because I bet that's going to be cute as fuck. Fujimoto does like to introduce animals to humanize people and then also kill them off. Like Clambon, Cheese, the cat, and all like that. Meowy, they're all used to humanize characters. Tiramisu's the best example for me because, like, okay, with Power, she, like, took in Meowy because Meowy's small and weak, and she was kind of small and weak at that time. So okay, she takes in Meowy, and it shows like a good side of her. And Clambon is kind of the same for Asa, but with like Makima's like an otherworldly entity. She's odd, she's different, she's like strange. She doesn't seem to care about anyone. But then you see that she has dogs, and she actually loves them. And I've seen a bit of discourse about it with people saying like, well, the only reason she has dogs is because she can control them. It's like, I don't really feel that. Like, I feel like she wants love. Like, I think that's pretty obvious. Like, even like Pochita himself said it, that she wants connection, she wants a family. And dogs, like, I have a couple dogs myself, like I said, I've got a couple Malamutes. and they're loving. I love walking in and them jumping all over me and being happy for me to come home. You know, you have a kind of bond with the dog. That's where they're called like mankind's first friend. You know, man's first friend, because they love unconditionally. Even if you're an abusive bad person, they will still love you unconditionally. And even when you saw her change the hybrids later on, she changed that they all loved her and they wanted to go on a date with her, because obviously she just wants people to love her. That's like kind of Makima's underlying thing throughout more or less the entire story. And it's class. Even like the crying scene in the cinema, the dogs are really good representations of that. That outside she's really cold and cruel and, you know, calculating, but inside she's sitting on the floor with her dogs when they're like jumping on her, and she's like voicing them and doing little cute voices and all for them, which is so at odds with how she kind of acts, you know. She also talked to Pochita at one point where she says that she views humanity like humanity views dogs, and because she loves dogs, she clearly loves humanity as well. Ties in with her whole like general theme of wanting to try and make the world a better place for humans. Island, yeah, it's okay. Kobeni's car, it's fine. I was gonna put it in initially because like I didn't like the Skinwalker joke. I didn't think it was very funny with power driving and crashing into people, because the Skinwalkers are my least favorite part from the International Assassins arc. But there's one scene that I really liked, where like I think it was Yoshida gets thrown out the window by Quanxi and he lands on a car and just got some like Kobeni going like my car. That was like the one funny scene. I actually liked that. I think it beat Kobeni once in the popularity poll as well. It came like 8th and she came 9th. The City Mouse is this is during the Reze arc after Angel quote unquote kills Reze, I guess. And then Angel turns around and goes, "Is this a nice city?" And it's like, it feels really weird that Angel is like questioning that, because like I don't really see that he would have an issue with killing Reze. Like I really just don't, because Reze had just killed dozens of civilians and he had changed his opinion on like humans, and he had gone to like a woman dying because of Reze and he had like comforted her and everything. I feel it's really weird that he's now seeing it as a bad thing to kill Reze. I find that really weird. I always thought the mouse was up there because it's kind of weird, it's just sitting there by itself staring at him. I always thought that was Makima was controlling it because she didn't quite trust Angel, so she was like keeping an eye on him through this mouse, so like he then couldn't like stab her in the back. Who are you? You're the person who give Reze a flower. Sorry, Denji a flower to give to Reze. Okay, Katana Man getting kicked in the balls. Fine. I was kind of tempted to put in because I don't find ball humor particularly funny. Like the fight Aki and Denji has when they first meet. It's like fine. I don't find ball humor particularly funny, but I like kind of the symbolism of it, because it's like obviously those two had fought and Denji had kicked in the balls repeatedly, and Aki kind of tried to fight with a bit more honor, I guess. But like Aki kind of comes down to his level to join in on this when he's like, you know, we shouldn't be doing this. You know, police are meant to be coming here. We're not meant to torture this guy. But then obviously because of what happened with Himeno, he's like, do not fucking fuck this guy. And there's a line of like, I hope Himeno can hear us in heaven or something like that. It's a good scene. It's kind of a bit goofy after a very serious bit in the arc, kind of like the chainsaw motorcycle. But I think it's done a lot more tastefully and it's a lot more interesting. Easy Revenge is I was thinking great. I like it a lot. I like it a lot because it kind of also plays into just Aki's relationship with like cigarettes as well. Because I think this is when he smokes like this cigarette. And I think it's at the start of the Reze arc. He then quits cigarettes because it's right afterwards. Because I feel like there's a line where like Himeno had given him a cigarette and it's like, and he had said this will be the first and last cigarette I ever smoke. And then she takes it off once she realizes he's a minor. So like, I think this is meant to represent this is still the last that same cigarette. It's the last cigarette he's ever going to smoke. He's now wanting to live his life now after that. I feel that's kind of cool and interesting. Obviously, the connection with the Ghost Devil is cool because the Ghost Devil gives it to him and it made you think like, I wonder why did the Ghost Devil choose to do that herself? But at the same time, the Ghost Devil then he killed the Ghost Devil, so it didn't seem it was still on his side because it stopped attacking him because he stopped fearing it. So you're like, so was Himeno inside the Ghost Devil then and give it to him because obviously she gave everything of herself to the Ghost Devil. So does that mean her soul went to the Ghost Devil as well? So I thought it was kind of an interesting way. It made me think about the world a wee bit more. And obviously, Himeno and Aki are two of my favorite characters, especially from the anime series. So it was a great connection for me. The Yakuza Boss, he's fine. He's in the scene where Makima goes in and intimidates him. I can only reread that scene because I always thought Makima had planned the assassination thing, but it seems not because she goes by herself to do this. So I don't know why she would do this by herself when she doesn't. Like, she's not showing off. If she's showing off to people, that would kind of make sense. Look at me, I'm here trying to get information, guys. But the fact she did it by herself makes it imply that she didn't know when she was trying to find out. She obviously could have just chained him, just got the information. I thought it was cool that she didn't. Because she just loves to play the game, I guess, and go in and just intimidate him, pull out eyeballs, you know. And then I think she kills a guy like grabs her or something like that, and she just looks at him and just instantly drops dead. And it's really cool. It's a really cool introduction to Makima as being like a badass supernatural character. You're like, I want to know what's up with her. Like I remember generally not liking a lot of the first season. of the anime, and then I remember this scene, and I was like, that's kind of badass. Like, okay, I want to know more about like Makima as a character because other characters I really wasn't interested in, but Makima's like a good level of mysterious at that point. So yeah, really good. Thought it was fun. Potter's brow pads. Will stick you in wasted. Might as well. She should have been stacked, guys. We were totally ruined. I feel I'm sticking in there because I'm not really getting as many wasted as I thought I was going to get. Yeah, it was fine. It's really awkward watching that scene with a mate. Like we're getting ready to see the Reze movie, and I've never seen Chainsaw Man before, and I was like, oh, do you want to see the Reze movie with me? It sounds like really good. It got really good reviews, and he's like, yeah, sweet, why not? And we're sitting there, we're watching it together, and it's just this, and it's like, don't worry, this doesn't last too long, but it is kind of like a recurring theme. So yeah, who's this? The vending machine cat. Who? That cat was literally just there, so like Power could be like, hey Denji, I have a cat. Do you want to save it? Okay. Civilian Devil Hunter, you're trash because you're awful at your job. Couldn't even fight the sea cucumber. Then bitched and moaned because he's like standing like 50 meters away from it, and they like Power shows up and kills, and he's like, hey, that's my kill. It's like, how were they meant to know that, bro? I don't think it's ever came up again with like a challenge between public safety and civilian devil hunters. I think it was just there so Makima could show up and like scold Power and just kind of show their relationship a wee bit. But he sucks because he can't even do his job right. Okay, we'll probably talk about the Erasure Power now. So, Bitterness gets like a fine. Snow, I feel, gets an now, I'm not overly fussed on the Erasure Power. I think so much of Part 2, especially, is based on the Erasure Power, and it's just not overly interesting to me anymore. I just genuinely don't care, because it's so underused for like 99% of it. Like, he fights the hybrids and Makima and all during the first part. At no point seems interested in eating them. Where we're currently at is like, what, 216 we're at? 217, wherever it is. He's not really showing any interest in eating death or, you know, war or any of the other like devils, except Barem, of course, poor Barem. But like, for some reason, he sees a bunch of public safety devils, and he's like, I'm just going to eat a bunch of like 5 or 6 of them in one go. And it's like, okay, that's kind of weird, especially because, like, you know, Power was public safety. You know, she was a fiend. She was forced to work for public safety. So does he not look at these guys and go, oh, maybe these guys are like poor individuals who are being forced to do it. Maybe I should be nicer to them. No, he's public safety. For some reason, they're the only devils. He'll eat none of the other important ones. Bitter, it's like fine. It makes sense because they do ear and mouth, obviously. So then it makes sense. Okay, we've got physical traits that are gone now. Let's try emotion. So it kind of makes sense they want to try like bitterness. I've seen like people argue that it's bitter the taste as opposed to bitterness the feeling. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at it in Japanese, so I don't really know what it directly translates to. But like, I assume it's meant to be bitterness as an emotion. It feels harder to track though, because how do you do it? Do you turn around to your coworker and go like, "Hey John, how's the ex-wife?" And if he's like, "Yeah, I'm over it," then it's like, "Oh sweet, bitterness is gone from the world." Snow as well. Snow as a concept is like fine. They want to test maybe how it affects the weather. Fine, it's okay, I guess. My biggest issue is the Erasure thing with public safety, just sending a bunch of devils to get eaten, especially when they had really no guarantee whatsoever that they would be able to make Pochita, who is like an almighty god, basically immortal, super powerful, like the most OP person who's ever existed, make him spit them up. It feels like it's a bit of a stretch. They thought they could have done that, and he was like, why would you send mouth, you know, because you might have just changed all of humanity for all time, especially when they're testing out what the theory is. And it's like, well, it's clearly they should know. I find it weird that Makima seemed to be like the only person for a long time who seemed to know about it, even though apparently all devils fear Chainsaw Man because he can erase them, but apparently no devil has ever mentioned this at any point during all the captivity or all the time as fiends or working with public safety. I find that kind of weird. I also find it weird. It feels like a bit of an ass pull that it was just there for the story, because obviously Denji was really sad at that time. Pochita ate them to throw them up shortly afterwards to cheer him up, and it's not a great reflection once again of Pochita's character, because he's basically an almighty god who's happy just to erase the feelings of bitterness or snow or mouths or ears to make Denji feel better. Like, it kind of makes sense if you're arguing like bitterness or snow, so you can follow them up not long afterwards to make Denji think about, like, you know, Reze and Nayuta or Power or Aki or whatever. But it's like, okay, well, why, if he's doing it for that reason, why do you eat mouth and ears? That doesn't really make any sense to me, because that doesn't really tie in with the same reason, unless he's going to throw up mouth. It didn't seem to make Denji suddenly think of like fucking Reze's lips or something like that, you know? I feel it's a bit of a stretch, and people kind of make excuses for it because the Erasure Power is so important that they kind of need to flesh it out a wee bit. And they still haven't really fleshed it out, and I just think it's not great. So yeah, I'm generally not fussed on this whatsoever, especially with Pochita just randomly deciding for the first time for no reason, when he usually eats like Nazis, I guess, like AIDS and nuclear bombs, you know, really important things. He's like, I'm going to eat mice today. It's like, why? Like, what? No, but just like, why are you doing that? Especially like public safety agents. This guy, he's in the Aging Devil's world. He's like, who's just there for exposition. The Gun Goddess is great. It's mainly a design thing. I think it's a really cool looking design. I don't really think overall it's super interesting. Especially something like Kino, because it's like not the most interesting thing in the world. I once again feel like, how does Yoru feel she has like control, like, or ownership over the Statue of Liberty? I realize the meme that she loves the USA and not Denji, but how do you feel you have ownership over the Statue of Liberty or the 400,000 trigger fingers? Is it literally just because they used guns and gun is something that she owns, so she feels she owns them? Well, Denji has used a gun during it, so surely she should just be able to use Denji as well then. This is mouth. It's just an air design. This guy's like Pillbug or something like that. I can't remember, but like, he's like, I'm gonna give him fine because he seems like a good guy. It's so weird to say because he's in like one scene probably, but like I remember because he's like armored forearms. I remember because it's like one of the times I saw and I rolled my eyes because Pochita's just one-shotting everyone because he's the best, coolest guy ever. But like he holds up his like armored arms and he's like, get behind me or something like that. I haven't read it in a while. And then Pochita like cuts his arms and his head off and then goes to eat his head, and you're just like, cool, thanks, Pochita. That guy seemed to be like a public safety devil or fiend or something like that, who looked like he was trying to protect his team. I'm glad you just cut his arms and his head off. That was really cool of you, dude. Thanks for doing. Like I said, I don't get why he was so gung ho to slaughter public safety agents. I find that so bizarre. Especially this guy who looked like he was trying to be good and protect. He wasn't like a normal fiend or devil who's like, fuck everyone, let everyone else die, I want to survive. He was like trying to protect people. I find that really weird. These are some centipedes. There's like a centipede guy, I guess, and Pochita kills them too. I don't know. This is Commander. I don't know who you are, bro. This guy's trash. Look at that design. He's got like a full crocodile head growing around the side of his head. That's terrible. Like, and I'm sorry. He just gets bad score because of his design. So does this, the Kusogaki Devil. I'm assuming because this one just over here just says the Devil of Fifth Division, which doesn't help me in any way knowing what you're meant to be. But it's got like twin tails and it looks like a bratty little sister. So I'm assuming it's a Kusogaki Devil. Why is it here and why does it look so shit? I see people share this all the time, being like, "Look how bad the art is in part 2." I'm like, okay, this was standing in the background though, so I can kind of forgive it. But yes, it is terrible, especially when you put them side by side. This is the same thing. That's like the hair, isn't it, in the background for this one? Like, it's terrible looking. Ear is terrible. Like, it's just that design. It's just so bad looking. I don't know who this is. This is like another Devil of Fifth Division. It's like the handsome devil though. So fine, you get a who instead of a trash because you're at least handsome. Look at that design. It's like an air design though. It's like a brain with horns. It's a horniest devil. We saw, but this is the one Pochita should have eaten, and then Denji would have been fixed as a character forever. Who are you? This is another commander. Why do we have so many commanders? Who's this? Takagi. Oh, you're going with Sentry Gun. He was in the terrible arc where Denji got captured as well. He just was there when he got dissected, and then I guess he admitted to like cheating on his wife or something like that. And then it was cool bit of foreshadowing compared to like what happened in like 216 or 17 or whatever it was, where like Asa found out about her dad cheating or something like that, and she looked sad. Okay. Church Chainsaw Superiors, they're fine. That was cool because like I think the police had burst in to like arrest the students and they had guns. And then a bunch of them like turned into like this weird blobby creature, and then a hybrid showed up and killed it. I think it's just cool because it's cool to see like police and like public safety and all, and it was kind of cool to see the hybrids come back at that time before it got really bad again. So yeah, it gets a fine. Who are you? Frog Devil. I don't remember who you are, bro. This is the Kinky Devil, gets straight to trash. It's another Gooner bit. It's so bad. It's like Denji's there watching a movie by himself, and there's this weird squiddy thing at the front, and then Fumiko, I think, shows up, and it's like, I'll go on a date with you if you suck its tentacles, and then Denji, because he's Denji in part 2, he's like, I'd never do that, then he immediately gets up and does that, and you're like, okay. I feel like a lot of my criticism with Denji, if you're a big part 2 fan, and you hate people saying Denji's a gooner and he's really annoying, and you're going to be like, oh, well, you don't understand. It's all about like sexual trauma and stuff like that. It's like, I do get it. I would like him to progress at any point in the past 150 chapters or whatever it is. Who are you? The Bear Devil? I don't remember you, bro. Sorry. The Attorney Devil. It gets a generous fine, mainly because of part 1. Like, I feel like Fujimoto, if he could become Pochita and hunt down the part 1 devil, he would eat it. Because I personally don't think he likes part 1 at all. I haven't seen any like interviews with him talking about it, but he took a bunch of things from part 1 and he just repeated them in part 2, and it was kind of weird. And Attorney Devil's the most obvious one because they did the aquarium arc when previously we had like the hotel bit. And I thought that was really weird. Especially because the hotel bit I thought was better because we had like 6 characters, like Arai or whatever the fuck his name is. I don't think he was particularly interesting. But we had like at least 5 characters who are somewhat important, all interacting with each other, all like growing, getting introduced, everything like that. Like Aki's amazing during it, Himeno's amazing during it, Kobeni is really popular. I'm not a huge fan of Kobeni, but people really seem to like that bit with her. Power, Denji, it's really cool. And then we have the aquarium arc, which is pretty much just to try and force Denji and Asa to form a bond, which he does do a lot. Fujimoto does do a lot of writing where he just forces characters to be together to create a bond. I just don't think it's really very good, the Aquarium arc. Like I said, it doesn't make sense for me. It also makes me question the power leveling. Surely this Eternity Devil shouldn't be that old, so surely it should be weak if we're going off the Nayuta thing. Surely if it's not too old, it should be a lot weaker. But for some reason, it seems to be as strong as the Eternity Devil in the first part, which was also powered up by the Gun Devil. It's also meant to be a pawn in part 2, from what I know. So how is it meant to be as strong as the part 1 one when the part 1 one was potentially older and also was powered up by the Gun Devil? It didn't really make a lot of sense. I didn't think it was that great. I wish it didn't come back, but unfortunately it did. And I just don't think the Aquarium arc was that great, because it's just a bunch of like nobody characters, and then mainly just Asa and Denji talking, and I generally don't think they have great chemistry. I don't find them particularly interesting together. Asa, I much prefer as a character, and even during that bit, I thought she was kind of boring. Cockroach Devil is just, it's like a fine enough design, I guess. Like I said, the scene was kind of trash, but I like the design. I think the fight was fine. Bat Devil, he's going to get fine. I liked him in the first part. I thought he was a cool, like, kind of introductory fight. It was also, like I said, kind of like Eternity Devil, where a bunch of people forced to be together to bond. This was also forcing him and Power to bond, especially with him just suddenly turning extra evil and being like, I'm going to eat Power afterwards, and then Denji having to save Power, obviously because he wanted to touch her tits, because fucking Gunner, I guess, again. So it feels like a bit of a push. Also, it has the same kind of power level issue, because it seemed to be just as big as the first part, and just as strong. Like, I don't think it flew at any point, so maybe it's a wee bit weaker, maybe, but it kind of has that power leveling issue as well, where once again, it just kind of comes back as an entry-level goon for Asa to fight, as opposed to for Denji to fight, and I think Denji still kills it. Bucky is just, I don't find him particularly funny or anything like that. I find it bizarre that the fear of devils should probably be at an all-time high, because Gun Devil had come back not too long ago and killed like thousands of Japanese civilians. It feels really weird that any student or any teacher or any fucking parent would be like, hey, let's have a class devil mascot. Like, I don't know why anyone would be okay. Asa's like the most normal human, because she's like, why? I hate devils. Can we not? Well, a devil killed my mom. Can we not have one, please? Also, technically, a devil killed my dad, kind of, if I'm going by the official story, so we get insurance money. It also is kind of interesting, because obviously he seems to have tripped to kill it, because even Yoru says you're the only person who doesn't feel bad for it. I know that. And, also, then we got revealed that she tripped on purpose to kill her dad, so maybe she did the same with Bucky. That would be more interesting for her as a character, but, like, it's been so long since that happens that if they do reveal it, I'll be like, yeah, okay. Because it's kind of been too long if they're going to do that as a reveal. Who's this? The Giant Devil? I don't remember you at all, bro. I'm sorry. You can go here. Prime Mantis is just, it's kind of like a Fox Devil. Like, a part of it comes out as a summon. It's fine. It's just there, I guess. These guys going who? They're the other, like, fangirls in Makima's case for Pochita. I don't really need them explained, just to show that there's a bunch of other devils, I guess, that support Pochita in the background. It's like, okay. Punishment Devil. Punishment Devil is great. I like his design when it fights a Gun Devil. I like the use of his powers as, like, post-mortem, I guess, like, effect where she's using the bodies, because clearly implies that she went and found their bodies and dug them up, I guess. Well, she probably didn't. She probably sent someone to do it for her, but it was kind of cool. It implied that she knew where they were buried. It was, like, watching where they were buried. So that's kind of interesting that Makima seemed to be aware of that. Also, just generally, her on top of like the Kyoto Shrine, using her powers, it's kind of implied that it's the Punishment Devil she's using through them, potentially. Because if not, it's never been explained what she used. I just think it's fine. It's kind of a real cool thing. I thought it was done well. I don't know who this guy is. Nakamura. If you have a name, I should know you, but I don't know you. Grape Devil? I don't know who you are either. Sorry, bro. You can go. I don't remember. These are the guys who fought Reze. I'm going to stick them down here. One of them, I think at least one of them, maybe two of them did the mold thing. I think this guy, because he looks like a moldy man. So he should get like if he is the mold guy, he gets an upgrade to Fine, because that scene was pretty cool. But yeah, I haven't read the Reze bit in a while, because I want to go into the movie not remembering everything. So after I read the movie, I'm probably going to do like a catch up and kind of go through the whole thing again. This is the captain. He's fine, and that's Aki's friend. I remember that. They're cool. I like human stories. It's one of the reasons why you'll hear me, like I said, you've probably heard me complain about like Pochita and Denji a bit, because I'm not really like, they're immortal gods who can never die. It's like, okay. I like humans. I like human like stories, especially like in like a world of like gods and devils and monsters. You know, I kind of like seeing the human story. It's why a lot of my favorite characters are quite human. Like this guy, this guy's a massive scar across his face, implying that this guy probably nearly died at some point, and he still decided to put the uniform on, still come back to public safety, still try and work and fight to try and keep people safe. That's actually kind of badass and cool, as opposed to like Denji, who's like, Denji can't die. So yeah, and I just prefer humanity like rising up, especially like these guys like trying to buy Aki some time to escape with, and they know they're gonna die because like Bomb's the most powerful person who's ever existed as well. I just prefer that kind of like story as opposed to like just, oh, here's a god who just keeps killing people. The Pig Devil. I don't remember you, bro, either. Sorry. The Mohawk guy, he just gets an he's like a serial killer or something like that who's like hired to kill Denji. I don't remember who hires him. I think it was Death. I don't remember, but he's like hired to kill Denji, and then he gets killed by Reze. I'll probably talk about that more with the Reze bit later on, but he's just there to serve his purpose and die, and he's not overly interesting. Coffee shop guy, he gets an A as well. He's just there to talk to Denji, I guess. The fish devil gets a fine, mainly just because it's design. It reminds you of the Junji Ito story. I think it's GYO, where like fish come out on Okinawa on like mechanical legs powered by farts, and they overtake Okinawa and then invade Tokyo, I think it is. I think it's just a cool design. I think it's like Aki and Himeno on it, and they get a bit of the gun devil from it. Aki's little brother and his parents all go fine as well. Pretty much because they serve their purpose of the story well, that they are just his little brother, they're just his parents, they die as a tragic backstory for him. That's absolutely fine. I don't really need 17 more layers. They get killed by the gun devil, so obviously makes what happened to Aki later on a lot more tragic. I find it interesting the parents are reading the Country Mouse and City Mouse to the kid, and I find like, okay, is that symbolism? Because like obviously Reze and Makima and Angel will talk about later on, but is it because they're the country mouse? They seem to live out in the country and they still aren't safe in the real world. So showing that in Chainsaw Man, you're not safe anywhere, even if you are the country mouse. I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, they serve the purpose well. The little brother going back to get the glove, I think it was, and then being killed, obviously is extra trauma for Aki, but it's extra trauma in a believable, like, same way. It's not like, you know, and then the little brother cat ran out and Aki saved it at the last second, but then the tree devil fell on it and killed the cat as well. It's like, okay, bro. The Leech Devil goes fine. You get to blow in his ear there. Yeah, it's fine. It just existed as like his girlfriend, I think it was, and it's cool because it was one of the first devils we saw that really had like interpersonal relationships with other devils, and it was like, oh, okay, so they kind of work together. Apparently they're boyfriend and girlfriend. That's kind of interesting. So it kind of shows that devils can be more than just like, I'm a devil, I'm the bat devil, I want to eat people. You know, it's like, okay, so that's fine. Sea Cucumber is just it's a lame design. He gets one shot, sucks, die. The Fiend, I kind of want to put him in trash. That scene wasn't great, but it's, I don't know, it's pretty much what the scene is. Aki and Denji go in, and Denji doesn't use his chainsaws to cut it up, instead uses an axe, and kind of implies that he did it for like a quick merciful death, and goes into a conversation about wanting to befriend devils and everything else, which is obviously a strained bit of the relationship between him and Aki at that time, because that's when they first met. And then Denji turns around after and goes, no, actually, I just wanted to save this poor Mike. Yeah. And he's like, that's a bit cringe. But like, obviously it could be that Denji was being honest with Aki and then realized afterwards, like, oh, I revealed too much of myself. And then he lied to himself and covered it with his like sexual proclivity thing, which is like fine. But I think it was a bit muddy. I think it could have been a wee bit cleaner. The Muscle Devil's fine. I liked it. It was cut out of the anime from what I remember. But it was pretty much in the manga. When Makima had taken Denji to go get food, the guy runs up, he's in danger. Makima approaches him and says, hi, I'm public safety, what's happening? Which is bizarre. Honest to God, didn't think Makima would go up to, ask someone that, but maybe that's the thing. Maybe Makima's actually, she does love humans like she claims, so maybe that's the reason why she did it. But then obviously she then goes, oh no, well my udon is ready, so I'm not giving a fuck, so I'm not going to help. Denji, you go and do it. He's like, well my noodles will get soggy. And she's like, well, I don't give a fuck. Maybe just go and do it. So I thought that was good, because it was a good introduction to their characters, because at the time we're pointing back and forth, is she nice, is she bad, is she nice, is she bad? And he goes off feeling dejected, obviously, about the whole thing. And then he meets up with the little girl and the Muscle Devil, and he's like, kind of relates to it, because the little girl says the Muscle Devil's her friend, they're running away together, and he's like, oh, I'm a friend with Pochita, maybe we're the same. And then it turns out it was just a trick. And then he kind of goes back feeling dejected afterwards, but he still did a good job by saving the girl. So Makima rewards him, and that's where the good dog stuff kind of comes in. So I think it just works a lot better if you had left it in. It just kind of ties that whole thing together. Well, it's in the anime, it just kind of hard cuts to like him barking for Makima, and it's like, that feels like he went from like 1 to 100 really quick. Zombie Devil's just, is a first fight like thing. It went down a bit easy for Denji being super weak at that time, having just died, and also not really having ever used his powers before. But it's a shonen, so it's fine that the shonen, anything they get their powers, they always beat their first villain, so it's fine. Him coming back later on is just kind of as well. Especially during the last fight with Makima, because it's like, why would Makima bring him back during the last fight, bring back zombies? Because they're just fuel for him, so why would he do that? So, okay. Tomato Devil's fine. I just like this design. When we first saw the anime, this is like the first devil we saw. Like, we saw Pochita like briefly, but this is the first devil we actually saw, and it's actually cool looking because it has this weird sideways mouth, its eyes are going everywhere, and then it says like, well, it'll come back from its seeds, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. That implies like different devils have different ways to come back, and there's different ways to know about different devils. That hasn't really been as big a thing after that, but it's still cool that it did it at all. The Yakuza guy is just, he's just evil for the sake of being evil. He's a bit too cartoonishly evil. Could someone like this exist in the real world? Yeah, sure, 100%. But at the same time, it's just, he's just there to be like, Denji, I'm gonna, if you don't give me 400,000 yen by tomorrow, I'm gonna make you into a horde and skin you alive and kill you. And it's like, okay, bro. Cool. It's just so much cool trauma. Fire Devil and Fakesaw Man, you can go up there together with Wasted, be a wee happy family again together. So, these twins found Fire Devil. It's kind of meant to be like a reflection of Denji and Pochita once again. And then obviously then Denji allowed one of the twins to die. And Fire Devil for some reason had to show up and explain this to Denji 170, 80 chapters into the story and be like, hey Denji, just so you know, it's a really bad idea to let random civilians die when you could save them. He's like, what? Oh my, really? Damn it, I didn't know. Oh, really? Fuck. Okay. Especially needing it to be a direct comparison to him and Pochita really did not do a lot for his character, and I didn't think it was a really good thing. I still, reading Comprehension Devil, maybe don't know how he can make people transform into Chainsaw Man. It made more sense when it was a Justice Devil, because Justice takes many forms, so it would make more sense. You can take the form of your Justice. That would make more sense. I don't get the Fire Devil thing, but I might have forgotten something, so I'll give him a bye-ball on that one there. I just don't think it was really good for Denji's character, like, whatsoever. Especially when Denji is so competent at that part. He's just like the best, most coolest person ever. He can fight Quanxi and shit like that. Surely he should be able to move so fast. He should be able to save everyone there. He should be able to throw out his chains and tie up one guy and hook him over a lamppost and tie up the car and hook it over a lamppost. Something like that to make it less stupid. He suddenly seems to be incredibly deep-hearted in that way. He can only potentially save one of the three of them, and I feel it's stupid. Fakesaw Man as well is just not particularly interesting. His story hasn't gone anywhere. He killed Yuko, I guess. And then he saved Denji from falling at one point, I guess. And then he attached a random bunch of chainsaws to him, and then attacked Denji, and Denji for some reason couldn't attack him. He's like, oh my god, he's covered by innocent people, I can't do it. And I remember seeing someone say, look how much Denji's grown, look at his empathy, he's not going to kill random civilians to get to Fakesaw Man. It's like, imagine that, like 180 chapters in, being like, this is my grade for, look at him as a character. He's not killing random civilians. It's like, oh, thank God. Especially because, like I said, Fujimoto took a lot from what he liked from part one. This literally already happened in part one with the doll devils. And you're just like, are you just doing this again? Okay. Aging goes into Wasted, and where's Falling? Falling, you go into Wasted. The more primals appear on screen, the less interested I am in them. I just don't care. Like, they're meant to be like cool and super badass. They're meant to be like the pinnacle of devil kind. And the fact that Fallen got turned into like a schoolgirl outfit, because every female in this is a schoolgirl. So we finally have one adult, mature-looking woman, and she gets turned into a schoolgirl uniform. It's like, this feels deliberate, like, especially with like Yoru turning naked during the transformation, so it just felt like a fetish thing. I realized it also might be a reference to like magical girl transformations, but it felt fetishy as well. But that's because Fujimoto sticks so many of his fetishes in here, unfortunately. The chef thing doesn't really work for me. I don't really get it, apart from if Death is famine, like I said earlier on. I think that would make more sense why she'd have a personal chef. I don't know why Death would have a personal chef. She's fine, she's fun at sometimes, her powers are interesting, but I feel like her getting beaten by Yoru just kind of came out of nowhere. I know a lot of people criticize Yoru because of this, because it's like, this came out of nowhere, and it kind of did. I know like the nuclear bomb thing was explained earlier on, but the timing of it makes it just kind of feel like, okay. Especially Yoru then feeling she owns her somehow then. Aging, I find really boring. I barely remember anything about him. His Aging Devil world, I don't think it's really interesting. It feels like, once again, a reason to trap a couple of characters together so they can have a sit down and have trauma dumping and trauma bonding. It feels like that, which he already did with the Aquarium arc earlier on, so I'm not really interested in it. Him wanting to die, I don't know why he wanted to be erased. It seemed kind of weird, especially when he's like, no, but you have to kill 10,000 children first, and then I'll let everyone live forever. It's cool, bro. It's just like, okay, I guess. I just don't find them particularly interesting. I feel like, with the primals neutered, with a lot of people saying, oh, there's going to be a part 3, I don't know how, because like all of the primals, apart from Darkness and Death, have been totally neutered. So if it's like, oh, Aging's coming back, it's like, okay, he already lost a fight to like Denji, basically, so who cares at this point? Black Chainsaw Man is just trash. I've already explained that he, like the burger shop scene earlier on, he is just too overpowered. It's not really overly interesting to see his fights. I refer to him as one-shotting everyone, because with the jobbers, he always just one-shots everyone. But then with all of his fights aren't interesting. It's not like where he's fighting, like, I don't know, the Leech Devil, and he's like running up its limbs and jumping to try and get better angles of attack like Denji did, or Reze, the Reze fight or something like that. It's like, he's just so powerful, he just like teleports through people and they fly into 70 parts, and then yes, often they just reconnect again and they fight again, but it's usually then they just counter teleport through each other and just fly into 70 parts again. And it's just not really interesting fighting scenes. I feel it really hard to connect him with little cute Pochita, who's all nice and smiley, whilst he's just kind of a monster. He's been around for so long that I kind of feel we need to have it explained at some point soon. Why the Chainsaw Devil is the most powerful thing in all of existence. Why he has this magical power to be able to delete things from existence. And most people have guessed that he's not actually the Chainsaw Devil, that he's going to be something else. I've seen some people say that he's the Humanity Devil, or he's the Life Devil, or he's the Death Devil in disguise, or some shit like that. I've seen someone say he's the Miscarriage Devil, which is probably the most interesting one, because obviously he has an umbilical cord tied around his throat, so obviously that kind of connects up. Bit of a dark topic, unfortunately, but I feel it also connects with Yoru, who accused him of stealing her children. It also connects with him wanting to hug people, because like he can't hug people, and obviously a baby's never able to hug his mom if it had miscarriage, that kind of stuff. Makima's interested in it. Obviously, Makima wants to start a family, and Makima's chains come from her womb, so it would make sense she's connected to him as well. I just find him uninteresting in general, though, and I feel like at this point, if they revealed something, I'd be like, okay. Cool. There's been so many fan theories at this point because it's taken so long to get here that I don't think I'll be shocked or interested. Maybe I will be. Maybe I'll eat my words and be the coolest, most badass thing ever. Right now, I just don't care. I find him really boring. Anytime he takes over, I just start to zone out because I'm like, okay, it's just going to be lots of boring fights over and over and over again because he's basically an immortal god because first he is canonically immortal and he's the only person who can delete things from existence, so he's kind of basically a god. It's like, does he kind of lose some fights sometimes at coincidental points when Fujimoto wants to have like, exposition dumps or characters to have like in-depth conversations or shit like that? Yes. So him losing a fight isn't overly interesting because he always gets back up. He's never like lost a fight entirely. He's like temporarily gone down and then gone back up again 30 seconds later when Denji suddenly turns into a super genius and realizes that his stomach is somehow still connected to Pochita's stomach out in the real world, and if he eats human flesh, it was a wee bit silly. I didn't really particularly like it. Also, it takes away from Denji as a character because anytime Denji's at his like lowest point, we don't get to see Denji like dealing with trauma and stuff like that. Instead, we have things like, Pochita eats bitterness, and so instead of letting him grieve with the bitterness, he eats it and then throws it up so Denji can have a flash of bitterness and be like, oh, okay, and then just kind of be over it. And it's like, okay, I'd rather see Denji dealing with the trauma of like Aki dying and Power dying and stuff like that, as opposed to Pochita taking over for like 10 chapters, then Denji coming back straight afterwards and just kind of being a bit like motionless about the whole thing, and then just kind of killing Makima, and then not really talking about it at any point later on. It's kind of boring. I know a lot of people saying, but that's his trauma response. It's like, yeah, I get that, but I'd much rather see it as a character, someone I'm meant to be invested in, him dealing with it and exploring it, as opposed to turning into a big black angry chainsaw man who cuts people up for a while and then Denji comes back eventually. Also, because Chainsaw Man doesn't talk, he's not an interesting character. I find it really weird, especially when he's also the guy who told like Denji later on, it's like, oh, Makima just wanted a hug, she just wanted a family, she just wanted connections. I was like, maybe you should have like spoken to her when you turned into Black Chainsaw Man, as opposed to just killing her in the hybrids over and over again. Maybe if you'd had a conversation with her to like outline your thoughts and your feelings and your opinions on her and stuff like that, it would have made more sense. It also would have made more sense if he just talked to Denji at any point and said to him, by the way, that's Makima, she's the control devil, but that just didn't happen. The guillotine is just, it's fine, it's a cool design. It wasn't a bad arc, but it was like fine. It kind of ties in my idea. It kind of goes against my idea where family at that time had this, and it's like, well, this is an execution method, so why would famine have this? So it would make more sense for death to have this. But it was fine. I didn't think it was particularly funny, but it was like a fine enough design. The Nail Devil's just trash. I don't know if it's like a hybrid. It's not a weapon. Nails aren't a weapon, but it's like there. And there's public safety agents who have nail contracts because Quanxi's minion who can like see contracts says someone has the Nail Devil contract at some point. So I'm assuming he's like the actual devil or something, or can hybrids still give out contracts or something like that? I just remember he's got a bad design, and I don't think he does a lot. I think he's there during the bad arc with these two. Justice Devil's like, it's just there. It's just there to be like a misleading thing because of the Fire Devil thing. It eats Asa and Denji at one point, and Nayuta makes it split them up, and that's the most thing Nayuta does in the entire story. So it's just I don't even like his design. These guys just go into who's, I guess, because they're like male Kobeni. This is from the Aquarium arc where a bunch of people just join. Like obviously they're in the school first, but then they're in the Aquarium arc where, like I said, he just wants to do the hotel bit again. So he has male Kobeni. Aki, I guess he's like the leader guy, and Himeno, because this guy loses an eye, so he's Himeno. Then sorry, you gotta go for it. You're Himeno, mate. And this person just cries on. It's basically just even kind of looks similar to like Kobeni, so it feels weird to just have them back to just do that arc again. Like I said, it's weird. Yuko is fucking Kato. I really like it. When she first appeared, I was like, I don't really think I'm gonna like her that much, but she's one of the more interesting characters. And at the start of part 2 is easily the best part of part 2 in my opinion. The bit where she's explaining that she killed her neighbor, like that was the fastest I think I turned any pages. I was like, what the fuck? And I was just flicking through, and just the repeated panel over and over and over again of them talking and just their facial expressions. And all. I thought it was really great. It was a surprisingly good way to introduce her character. The whole "don't come to school tomorrow" reference, I thought that was kind of cool. The one issue with her is her death, but it's not really her fault. For some reason, like I always thought it was Chainsaw Man because obviously at that point we didn't know Fakesaw Man existed, but apparently it was Fakesaw Man killed her, and it's like why? Especially because no one knows she's dead. And I don't think Ass has ever referenced her again as like her first friend, because not long after that, a lot of people say that when she died, that's when part 2 started going downhill, and I do relate to that. Because once she died, that's when Asa and Denji started hanging out constantly. And then she never mentioned her again because Denji just became her friend, so she didn't care about Yuko anymore, I guess. Oh, the hybrids can all go into trash because they're just bad. They're so, out of everything you could have brought forward from part 1, you brought across these fucking jobbers. Especially this guy, the random sword guy. Like, we already had a katana guy. Why do we need sword as well? It's like you have the gun devil, but you also have the pistol devil, and the shotgun devil, and the rifle devil. I don't like diluting devils. It's like having, oh, this is the depression devil, and this is the chronic depression devil. It's like, oh, okay. I feel like diluting devils takes away from them a lot. He also got like covers and shit like that, and he's just like so uninteresting. I barely remember anything about him. I think his name begins with M. Whip, I remember at one point she says she's like 80 years old or something. Spear, I don't remember anything about. They're just there because obviously at the end of part 1 they thought we need to have a bunch of weapons together to fight, because obviously, you know, Pochita is way too overpowered. We can't just have it be like Makima, Quanxi, Katana, and Bomb. We can't just have those ones. So we have to just have a bunch of other jobbers there so we can cut people up, because Fujimoto just likes seeing people get cut up, and they suck. That's pretty much it. Barem, he's fine. He's fine. He would have got like an previously, because he's too cartoonishly evil. I don't particularly enjoy him. I always compare him to Makima because obviously his connection with Makima is one of the most interesting things, I guess. But like, Makima's like Heath Ledger as a Joker, and he's like Jared Leto as a Joker. Where like, imagine like they're both playing like the same role, but one's like an incredible villain, really, really great, well written, really interesting. You want to see more of them. The other one's like, oh, you're cringe. Fuck off, please, just go away. It's like if you imagine John from accounting walks in and shoots like Heath Ledger Joker and then Jared Leto Joker in the back of the head. With Heath Ledger Joker, you'd be like, oh, really? Oh, really? Really? That was a great film. Why would you kill them like that? That's kind of how I feel with the Vor thing earlier on. But like with Barem, like with the Jared Leto Joker, you'd be like, oh, thank God, they're gone. I can't be fucked with them anymore. I don't think he's particularly interesting as a villain. The only interesting thing about him is his connection with Makima, because he's like the only character who acknowledges that Makima even existed from like part 1, which is just really weird because she's obviously such an important part. Then he's like, the reason he gets fined is because he's the only one who seems to be pushing the story forwards really in any way. Because like in part 1, there's like, let's say 5 major deaths, and Makima's involved in like all of them in some way. For like part 2, there's like 5 deaths as well, him being one of them, I guess, which, you know, counts towards him already. And like 3 of them he killed. One was Yoshida, who I don't think's dead. One was Makima's dogs and Snowy as well. Sorry, Meowy as well. And then one was Nayuta. So like, out of his 3 kills, and the only 2 I believe that actually happened were Nayuta and Makima's dogs. And it's like, why is he going after Makima's things when he wants Makima to like take over and he wants her vision to come true? And then allowing himself to get eaten doesn't really seem to fit in with his like idea for the world. So my schizo theory is he's wanting to go inside Denji to try and find Makima to bring her out. Now Nayuta's dead, so he's hoping to try and revive Makima. If that happened, that'd be pretty interesting and cool, because obviously I like Makima a lot, but I don't imagine it would really work out, because obviously it wasn't Chainsaw Man who ate Makima, it was Denji. But still, Makima, I guess part of her should exist still within Denji, because she did technically get eaten by him. So yeah, he's just fine. Yeah, Hell is trash. Hell during the International Assassins arc was like badass, and they sent them all to Hell, but they fought darkness. And whoa, Hell's really scary, and there's like the finger coming across the picture with the 4 kids and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. And then he's like a Pochita victim. He shows up during the assassination attempt on Makima. 12 public safety agents have to slice their throat just to summon him. He shows up in his true form. You're like, damn, he's really scary. I bet it's going to be a big fight. And then Pochita one-shots him. You're like, oh, okay. And then a public safety agent has to walk up, slice his wrist, and pour the blood into his mouth and be like, fuck, bro, can you get up and actually do something, please? And then for some reason, he still doesn't attack Makima. He attacks Pochita again and sends him to Hell for some reason. When if you had actually sent Makima to Hell, that might have actually done something to her, but instead he just goes after Pochita again, and now Yoru seems to be able to travel back and forth to Hell whenever she wants and summon people from Hell, so it's kind of like, okay. I feel like making it super easy to travel back and forth to Hell takes away from it, because it's meant to be like, the devils in Hell are like stuck there until they die and then they get reincarnated on Earth, and it's that cycle. If they can just come back anytime they want and just travel back and forth, it feels like it takes away from it for me. Aki 47 is fine. The Gun Fiend is fine. My favorite bit is Makima calling Denji when he's at the door and being like, "Yo, bro, we fought the Gun Devil, we lost, and he's at your door. Have fun." It was just such a weird troll. Obviously, Snowball fight scene was fantastic. I'll talk more about Aki himself as a character once I get to him, but yeah, fantastic. It's probably one of the most memorable scenes. Really good. Gun Devil is great, mainly because of the design. The only reason he's not like Kino, because he's obviously super powerful and super interesting, but there's two reasons he's not like Kino. One of them is his regeneration method is bizarre. He's one of the most powerful devils. Other powerful devils can just instantly regenerate from like a small part of them, but he needs his parts to reconnect before he can regenerate. That feels really bizarre for like one of the most powerful devils. It just seems odd, and it feels like it's just their way of deliberately limiting him. It also then feels weird. Like the twist wasn't bad for me that we're building him up as the bad guy, but it does feel kind of weird at the end, especially because at the end, if you're watching the anime, at the end of the first season of the anime, they just go, "By the way, we find him." You're like, "Oh, that was quick." You weren't expecting him to go that quick, but obviously it's to introduce Makima then as the main villain. It feels weird for him to then still appear, and you know he's just like a loser version of himself because he's like 20%. It's still cool. His fight with Makima is still cool. I don't know why it attacks like thousands of random Japanese civilians instead of Makima first, but like, okay, cool. Stone Devil is fine, and so is his handler. They're fine. They were cool, like minor arc helpers. It was interesting how Darkness was able to like pull him out of the air. It means like, does Stone Devil teleport all the way to hell every time he's used, or does Darkness have a special ability where he can pull through contracts, and then obviously it bounces back to him? Is that a special Darkness thing? Because we don't really see that. Like when the Fox Devil is injured, it doesn't like transfer the injury to like Aki or whoever is using it. So I thought it was cool. It's kind of interesting. Darkness is Kino. He's like the only primal apart from Death, but Death has their own issues. Who is like untouched. He's badass. He's cool. He's mysterious. He's just an aura farmer. He's really awesome. His fight with Makima is pretty cool. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. He killed a bunch of like characters from the main squad. I know a lot of people probably sad about that, but I didn't really care about any of them, so I didn't really care. Yeah, I thought he's badass. Cool. Octopus is just sometimes it's bigger than a building, sometimes it's small. If Pochita can hold it in one hand and swallow it whole. The most interesting thing about it is it has a contract with Yoshida, and I'm assuming it's some form of hybrid contract, because when Octopus got swallowed, Yoshida apparently got blipped out of existence as well, and then got thrown up by him. It feels, if he isn't like a hybrid with it, it feels like it's an ass pull just so Yoshida was there, so they could then use him in the Aging Devil's world to then get out of the situation. I'm hoping it's a hybrid because it means it's a bit better. If not, it's just an ass pull and kind of bad writing. But yeah, it's just kind of there and exists. I don't really get how it was able to kill all of Makima's like spies, like all minor life forms close by when they're doing the Makima's listening thing, and Yoshida and Kishibe wanted to talk. I don't really get that because it doesn't really seem like something it can do. But like, sure, fuck it, whatever. These guys are a bunch of public safety guys, I think. He's like the guy who sacrificed himself for to get the darkness power for Doll. He seemed like he was going to do something, but he was just one of Doll's like numerous twists. So he's just kind of like, okay. He didn't really do anything afterwards. Doll is great. I like schemers. I like people who are like pulling strings. I like her like triple twist thing that was going on. I like how weird she was when she's like standing in the like seeing her like Granda, who you thought was the original Santa Claus, standing in the doorway with like the wall, and she's like, "Bye, Granda." It was just like so weird and so casual. It's interesting that she's like so obsessed. Like she's like one of the few characters who's like not really interested in like Chainsaw Man, which is cool. Like obviously she's doing it for Darkness Devil to give Darkness Devil Chainsaw Man's heart, but it's kind of cool that she's the one after Makima instead. It's actually like, oh, that's actually kind of interesting. We're actually having a different reason for someone to fight. But then she goes Super Saiyan at the end, and it's kind of lame. And I think her fight is okay in general. It's one of those ones where like Denji just suddenly becomes super battle IQ and he sets himself on fire, and then for some reason just never burns out, and then she's suddenly not strong enough to break his chains or something like that, even with a whole bunch of her dolls helping. It feels like the end of her fight was a bit of an ass pull, but like fine, whatever. The Fiends just going none of them really left a long impact on me. I like Long's design, but they're just like there. They're just fine. They're just there to bolster Quanxi, and they all work well with her. And I don't remember much about them. That's the thing. They don't really stick with me too much. I remember she can see contracts. She revives her, and she's cool. That's it. Cosmos instead gets a Kino. I really like her design. I just think it's so funny that Quanxi was just like, I want to fuck that girl. A girl with an explodey brain with her eyeball hanging out. I want to take that girl in my bed. It's just like, out of everyone you could have picked. To be fair, this one's a corpse as well, so it's not that great. Like, but come on, bro. I like her power. I like the fact that she's just saying Halloween in the background. Usually I don't like goofy, silly characters. If you've watched the rest of it, you probably see that. But like, for some reason, she makes me laugh. I like her a lot. I think her power is interesting when she pulls Doll Devil in. I think it's cool. I don't know why she doesn't use it on Makima, but at the same time, I think she had to power up because I think she did like a Kamehameha thing to like charge up her Halloween. So yeah, I like her a lot. She's cool. Quanxi, She's like a fine, very close to an She was like cool during the International Assassins arc, and I remember when she died at the end, I was like, really? Oh, damn it, really? Oh, fuck's sake, okay. And then she came back in part two, and she's been like kind of pointless and kind of lame and kind of uninteresting, and you're just like, oh. It, it's just like all of the hybrids that have come back in part two are just boring. Like they're just boring. They're just uninteresting. Apart from Barem, obviously, but like it took it away from her coming back because she's now just kind of works for public safety. I don't really know why. I don't know why she doesn't escape. She's more than strong enough. I think she got beaten by Denji at one point as well, which just feels like it shouldn't happen. But unfortunately, the power scaling in part two is just like Denji is just the most powerful, coolest, baddest person who's ever existed, and everyone else sucks. It's kind of uninteresting. Skinwalkers are trash. They took away from the scene for me. They were obviously meant to be introduced to be like, oh, look how badass these people are because they killed like Tendo and the new captain from Kyoto and everything like that. And then they don't actually do anything themselves. One dies in a comedy scene with a car crash, which I didn't think was funny. Yoshida kills one, but then lets the other one go for some reason. And I think one gets Halloween. And it's just like, okay, cool. I realized that it was there to do like a subversion thing. I was like, you think these people are going to be important, but actually they're not. It's like, oh, okay. I would have preferred the time spent on them to be spent on the Quanxi or like Kishibe and Yoshida and every other character as opposed to these three. Typhoon is just Typhoon really feels like he was literally just there because Chainsaw Man's got a chainsaw, and obviously because Reze was being built as the main love interest, they didn't really want to have Denji repeatedly just slicing her to pieces over and over and over again. I think he only hits her like twice, maybe three times. I can't remember that arc. Like I said, haven't read it in a while because I want to be like spoiled by the movie. But like, it feels like they just needed him to cut up something because Chainsaw Man's got to do that. So they had this thing just show up and cause a lot of devastation, and Chainsaw Man beats it. I think really super easily. I think he like beats it in like fucking like 2 pages or something like that. So it felt like it was just there so they can be like the blood and gore that we know for Chainsaw Man, and obviously he couldn't do that to Reze because then it would be kind of awkward to immediately afterwards be like, by the way, Reze, I love you, let's run away together. So he just kind of sucks. Reze herself though is Kino. Kind of tempted to put in great, but I think she's Kino. I really enjoy her. The Bomb Devil design's fine. It's cool, but my issue with it is the nudity thing because I just find it a bit like, okay, it feels a bit like goonery shit. Because near enough every other character's clothes either don't get destroyed or more or less regenerate afterwards. And I realize they made a point that public safety uniforms are tougher than normal uniforms, so that's the excuse. But it feels like it's just like, I know like Denji, like I think even during that fight, gets naked after she like tears him apart and like blows him to pieces. But then he like instantly appears again in full clothes again just so he can give her a shirt. And I think Fujimoto was talking about that in an interview about how it's always been a man's dream to give a girl a shirt for her to wear or something like that. And it feels like it's like, so like literally like you just had her be naked for like gooner shit so she's flying around in panties, and then so Denji could be a gentleman and cover her in a shirt afterwards. It's just, it feels like it was a bit much. It feels like that's one where it's like I've said, with me and my mate watching, it feels just awkward being like, oh yes, see this wee girl, yeah, she's gonna be running around naked the entire fight. Well, she'll randomly magically get panties at one point out of nowhere, but you know that's fine. And it's just like, really, she's a great tragic character. She's an interesting backstory. The spy from USSR thing, obviously, she was experimented on. Really interesting background. Makes me sympathize with the character. I don't need 17 layers of trauma. For me, not liking Denji. And I did not realize there was shipping wars in this community at all until I started getting more involved in like Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that and seeing people argue. And you're just like, oh fuck, there's actual shipping wars. And if I was going to pick a ship, like I don't like Denji, but like Resident seems to make the most sense because they actually seem to be actually connected. They mirror each other pretty well. I it makes sense. Like I can believe their romance. Can I really believe Denji being like, oh, actually, I'm going to run away from Power and Aki and Makima and everything like that after Reze is a mass murderer and slaughters people? It's a bit more of a stretch, but like, whatever. I guess the only reason he's doing that is because he knows Reze will be killed and he wants to be there to protect her, but I just think that's a bit much because then he knows he'll be killing his own people. I think that doesn't really work too well, and they just wanted it there for the tragic backstory, which obviously is good, and a lot of people are really upset about Reze dying. Yeah, I think a lot of people glaze Reze a bit too much because they act like she's this like sweet, innocent little wallflower who's like the nicest, kindest, greatest person ever, and she just wants to be the country mouse and skip through the fields, but she very clearly enjoys killing people. Like she does. She couldn't even pretend when she was being like pretending to be chased by a devil and she ran up to like the training facility. Like, they literally said, you're smiling too much for someone being attacked. And she's like, oh, whoopsie, my damsel in distress thing didn't work. Because she's clearly enjoying herself and having fun. She slaughters a bunch of civilian devil hunters. She slaughters Denji over and over and over again. She kills a whole bunch of trainees for public safety. She is just a mass murderer. She kills Aki's friends, then brings their heads to show him. She is like genuinely a mass murderer who kills dozens, if not hundreds of people. Like she is like a genuine monster. Like just, that's really it. She is genuinely a monster, and that does bother me. Like I like her as a character. I like Makima as a character. So it'd be a bit silly of me to be like, oh, yeah, Reze's a bad character. She kills people. Like so, it doesn't bother me, but I do think people are really trying to build her up too much just to make the ship even more emotional that she died, because it's like, oh my god, she didn't even go to school. It's like, yeah, she didn't, and she killed hundreds of civilians, including children. So I don't, Angel's also, Angel's great. The only real issue I have with Angel is also to do with the Reze thing. I said it earlier with the City Mouse, where Angel just helped kill Reze, and he turned to the City Mouse and goes like, is this a nice city? Acting like he's kind of mournful and regretful for what he did. And I find that a bit bizarre, because he was involved in the fight. Like, I don't think he ever fought Reze directly, if I remember correctly. But, like, he was clearly there, and he's building a friendship with Aki at that point. And Reze tried to kill Aki, and also killed Aki's friends in front of them, like, in horrible ways, and brought their heads and stuff like that. It feels really weird that he's suddenly, like, opposed to killing her when he's a devil and she is a devil. Like, yes, obviously he would see the humanity in her, and he's kind of changed his opinion on humans. I find it really weird. It felt like they were just trying to make it even more like, oh, look how evil Makima was for doing this. And it's like, I feel like Angel would have been okay with it. And he didn't, like, bring Aki, I think. And it's like, well, Aki would have been okay with it because she had just killed his friends. I'm pretty sure Aki would have been entirely okay with killing her. Apart from I think Kishibe shows up and does, like, an exposition dump for, like, no fucking reason to be like, by the way, she was tortured and abused. It's like, thanks, bro. Like, to try and really, like I said, the ending of it, I think, really tried to hammer it in. Look how sad this is. And people kind of took it and fanned the fuck out of her and really made her like this sweet, innocent child when she just isn't. Princey is just, she's there. She's there as a conduit for Makima at one point. She doesn't really do a lot, doesn't have a character. She exists. Gali or something like that, his name is. He's like, as well. He's closer to a Fine than Princey would be, because obviously he has a bit more personality. The biggest issue with him is he's meant to be the violence devil. I know there's arguments back and forth about if he's violence or street violence, but I've seen lots of people on both sides, both claim to be natural Japanese speakers, both saying they're right about their opinion on. So I don't know. If he's meant to be violence, he should be one of the most powerful devils in existence, because the fear of violence is massive. War is a type of violence, So I feel like violence should be way more powerful, but he was just there for war effect to get killed by darkness, and it's like, yeah, he's fine. I remember him being a fine enough character, but he just didn't interest me in any way. Bean is I was very close to putting him in trash. I don't find him funny at all. He's just uninteresting to me. He's really just there for the Reze arc. I don't remember him really doing much after that. I remember him dying to darkness, I guess. He's not great. I don't think he's particularly funny. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Future is fine. He serves his purpose. I like that he didn't take anything off Aki. He just wanted to live in his eye because he wanted to see Aki's death firsthand. I thought that was pretty funny. What else did he? He did the Nostradamus prophecy. Was it Nostradamus? I think it was Nostradamus prophecy. It feels like he's kind of broken. It feels like more people should go and get contracts with him. It feels weird that Makima didn't get someone like chain someone and make them get a contract with him. So they could get like the 1 second ahead view thing as well. It feels like weird that people don't exploit that more, because that does seem a bit overpowered. But like, sure, whatever. Tendo and Kurose, is that his name? I don't remember his name. Sorry. Sorry. I'll make them face each other. There you go. Face each other. They're there. I don't want to build them up too much, because they were probably the public safety agents who were on screen the most outside of the main ones, and they didn't really do a lot. They were there. They showed up in the International Assassins, and then they died as a big like, you thought they were going to be important, but they died to these Skinwalker guys. The Skinwalker guys are probably going to be really important, and then they weren't important either. And you're like, oh, okay. So I don't want to just like, they're wasted because they could have been great. It's like, well, most of these public safety agents probably could have been great if you actually did something good with them. They were just, unfortunately. Snake is also just, showed up a few times, was generally uninteresting. It shows up and bites people, kind of like Fox. I prefer Fox. Curse is trash. Curse is trash because it's used like twice, and it seems to be set by nails. Because I remember like it flicking the nail into like Katana Man when Aki was holding the nail sword thing, which is cool. And then Denji, I think, steps on a nail. I don't know who set that one up on him, but it's fine. It's used on hybrids both times, and hybrids were magic and immortal, so it didn't matter. Imagine being Aki and you give like 3 years of your life to kill Katana Man, and he gets back up again. Would you all be, bro, can I have a refund? Like, you genuinely didn't do anything here. So he's just trash. Akane, is that her name? She's just as well. She existed. She was a fine enough minor arc villain. She's just there. These ones are just random public safety agents who like were at the drinking scene and then died, or I think he's called Madoka, and she's called Fushi, I think. He retired. That's all I remember. Ghost Devil is fine. It's a cool enough design. I like the Easy Revenge thing. I thought it was cool. I've spoken about the Easy Revenge thing already. I like the connection with Himeno. Yeah, it's fine. It wouldn't really do much if it appeared recently. The one thing I found weird was that sometimes, like, the limbs could be attacked, and other times the limbs couldn't be attacked. Like, when Power was being held up by the throat, she couldn't grab the limb that was holding her throat, but Katana Man could cut through the limbs when it was fighting them. I guess it makes sense if it. See, it doesn't even make sense. I don't even know, because Fiend is like Power is part devil, obviously, but she couldn't touch it. But Katana Man could, which is his devil form. But Snake could also bite her, so it seems like devils can touch her. But why wouldn't ghosts be incorporeal to everyone? So it's a bit, but yeah, she's like a fine enough design and all. Kishibe, fine, like a very generous fine. Because just like thinking back, I remember when I was like reading, when I first watched the anime, I didn't care about him at all because I thought his training thing at the end was a bit too cringe. Like, well, I'm so badass and crazy and evil that I'll kill them over and over again, but then suddenly say that I like them suddenly at the end out of nowhere. It's like, okay. And then just his constant like telling Denji that you're the best devil hunter ever. You're the only devil hunter who's ever going to make a difference. It feels like a bit too dick sucky for the main character, like the trainer just repeatedly telling them how special and awesome they are. It's just a bit cringe. And he's mainly just there for exposition. Like I remember, I think it was at the end of the anime where he's like, all of Division 4 are going to go in now and fight. And you're like, oh, we got to see Kishibe go on action on mission and fight. And then he stands outside and briefs the police instead. And you're like, okay. Like, he doesn't, I don't remember him being involved in any fights. Like, even with the Makima thing, like, he shows him, points a gun at her head, like, what are you doing? Like, what do you think you're going to do here? And he was just there for exposition, because he dumps exposition all the time, or he has exposition dumped onto him all the time. And I know a lot of people really like him, but looking back and thinking back, I don't remember him doing much or being interesting. And it seems weird that he was so gung-ho to take down Makima, because even though, I remember at one point he says, like, if you're on humanity's side, I don't care what you do, because it's kind of implying he knows she's the devil. Like, I'm happy enough for you to, do your thing. And Makima technically always was on humanity's side. Arguably, she changed towards the end to try and be more for her mission solely about Pochita instead of humanity as a whole. But obviously, again, Pochita was in line with fixing humanity in her vision of things. It seems weird that he was so gung-ho to go after her, but the world is so much worse than when she was around, and he's not there, even though he claims he's the best devil hunter in existence. Fox is great. I just like the design. I like contracts that only parts of them appear. I like that it showed, because this is the first time we saw like her fickle, where it's like, oh well, the fox likes you, so she'll like let her head come out to eat things. Oh well, she only kind of likes you, so you get her paw. Well, she only kind of likes you, you get her tail. I think that's kind of cool. It shows like devils were fickle, and it was fairly like the first time it gets introduced to us. Really, I just also think the design is very cool, but she's kind of lame overall because she doesn't do anything. She kills Leech and then eats Reze and vomits her up, and then eats Katana Man and vomits him up, and you're like, oh, cool. Cool. Arai, is that his name? He's there. He dies. Sorry, bro, I don't give a fuck about you. Kobeni is as well. I just don't find her funny. I see a lot of people saying she's the most relatable character, and I just do not relate to her whatsoever, because most of the time she just sits there crying. She kind of has the Zenitsu thing going on, where when she's like, Compos Mentis, I find her really annoying because she's just annoying. But then occasionally she goes into super secret ninja badass mode, and I don't need everything explained to me in the story, but I'm kind of curious about that. But I feel she was meant to do more, but it got cut because like Fujimoto came out and said at one point that he was going to kill her off, but then found out Angel was more popular, so decided to kill off Angel instead. So maybe there's meant to be more to her, and she just ended up getting like substituted with Angel and then sent to work in a burger shop for just to be a damsel in distress to get saved by Pochita later on, because they didn't want Pochita to lose a fight. So they're like, oh well, he takes the blow for Kobeni because he's suddenly so nice and I guess cares about Kobeni or something suddenly. Himeno is she great or is she Kino? She's Kino. Like I said, I like human stories, and Himeno does it so much better than Kishibe, because Kishibe is obviously her trainer and she trains Aki. And she's a deeply broken character who sees her friends die over and over again. She falls into addiction. She falls into addiction both with cigarettes and also sex, because obviously it shows with the Denji thing, even though the Denji thing also kind of implies that she was just doing it to take him away from Makima, because she only seemed more interested in him once she found out that he was interested in Makima. So it implies that she just doesn't like Makima because Aki's interested in Makima, so she's doing that to try and take Denji away from Makima. It was interesting. It shows how broken she is as a person, especially the whole thing that just never really came up again because public safety just isn't important anymore. But like, you know, the partners and all showing up and her letters that she wrote to her dad, everything. Himeno was just a great character because Kishibe is too much like, oh, the world's crazy and I'm so super crazy and I need to drink because I'm super crazy and it's dark and cool and badass. And it's like Himeno's like an actual broken person while he's kind of like he's more like an anime character while she's like a genuinely broken person who's like really struggling just to get by day by day and is willing to sacrifice herself just so another of her friends doesn't die. And it's really relatable and interesting and likable. And I think she's a great character. Her death, she was my favorite character when I first watched the anime. Her death is still talked about today. When I see people talk about the most tragic anime deaths, really genuinely fantastic character. Really have no issues with her whatsoever. I know people are going to complain because obviously she's like in her early 20s and I think Denji was 16, which I guess is age of consent in Japan. I don't particularly care about it like that much. Like, is it weird? Yeah, but she's like a deeply emotionally broken person. So if people are willing to give like a lot of characters in this a fucking Bible, like Reze, we have no idea what age Reze even is. She's a hybrid, you know? She's a hybrid. She could be 40 years old for all we know. You know, she's raised by the Soviet Union. That still could be 40 years. She could be have been a super soldier. Especially because I think at times she says about Denji when she says like, you're 16, people your age, stuff like that. It implies that she's older, but I don't, like I said, I haven't read it. Once I see the anime, maybe I might have been totally wrong, but I thought it was kind of implied that she's older than him as well. But who knows? I think people give it a Bible because she looks younger and is presented as younger than opposed to Himeno. Meowy's just, Meowy's there to humanize Power because Power sees a small, weak creature and feels small and weak herself, I guess, and connects with him. The silliest thing is that Bat kept Meowy alive for days, if not weeks, when Power got captured by Makima, as opposed to just him eating it to regenerate his arm or eating Power to regenerate his arm. I'm assuming he just sat there feeding Meowy. Did he go into the pet food store and get some cat food or something like that? So that was really silly and that really makes sense. And obviously then Meowy getting eaten afterwards just to make Power then relate to Denji, and then Power getting eaten, so Denji would then go and save her just to force them to start to become friends. It was a bit heavy. Power is fine. She's just fine. I don't think she's particularly funny. I don't think she's particularly interesting. I'm not super. She's just fine. I remember watching her in the anime the first time. I thought she was really annoying, and I've just my opinion hasn't changed so much on her. She got better in the manga, but that's about it. I don't really have any strong feelings towards her. I know a lot of people really want her to come back because of the promise that Denji made to her. It's not a contract, and if it was anyway, she died. So who fucking cares? But I feel her coming back even at the end was a bit of an ass pull, so I'm just not. She's like okay, that's it. She's just like okay. She exists. She's like a solid 6 out of 10. I have a slightly positive over neutral feeling to her. Aki is fucking Kino as well though. I like his interaction. I think this shows a real difference between Power and him. Power, she's not human in any way. She is monstrous. She's not really a good person in any way really. The best scene from her is when she like tries to charge Katana Man after Katana Man shoots Aki and Himeno. That is the best scene, but then she immediately runs away afterwards, so it kind of takes away from it. But like, she doesn't really interact with very many people outside of Makima like twice, I think, and mainly with Denji, because obviously it's kind of hinting towards another romance angle, because that's unfortunately so much what Chainsaw Man really is. But like, Aki interacts with Himeno, with Angel, even with Reze, with Power, with Denji, with Makima. He interacts with a bunch of people, even like the other public safety agent. He interacts with a bunch of people. He seems to have like a personal life, a social life. He seems like a grounded person. He's like the older brother who kind of holds the entire family together. That's why it's called the Hayakawa family. He just seems like a really good dude who's also broken, to a lesser extent than Himeno is. And he obviously has a clicking talk working over him, a ticking clock over him, where he has like 2 years, I think it is, left to live. And it just makes his character much more interesting because he knows he's going to die. He is immortal. When Power can take grievous injury and come back, and Denji's immortal, he is the human character in the three. And he's just so relatable and interesting. He has like a tragic backstory, but it's like a good level of tragic where it's not like 52 things piled on top of each other. His ending is incredible. It's one of the best moments in all of Chainsaw Man because it's just so memorable and really well written and fantastic. I really don't have any flaws with his character, like whatsoever. His relationship with Angel is fantastic, like really, really likable, really good. His battle with cigarettes, even him trying to overcome the addiction that seems to grip so many public safety agents, is fantastic. He is just a really, really great character, and I really like him a lot. Obviously, he's never come back. He's a human. He doesn't have like the "I'm a devil" bullshit excuse that Power has. So he's a human, so he's never come back, which is sad. But it also makes the characters better because when you're not sitting there waiting for characters to come back constantly, I feel like they're much more likable and relatable because you feel like the chapters close on them, so you can kind of ruminate on them and think about them a wee bit more. Makima obviously is Kino. I've talked about her plenty throughout this. I think she's a fantastic tragic character. Oh, sorry, how could I separate you from Tiramisu? I think she's a fantastic tragic character. She's obviously a fantastic villain as well. So I like people who are able to skirt both of them because obviously the tragic character. There's a lot of people who focus purely on her villain side, but obviously even like Pochita points out directly that she's a tragic character. She's someone who never had any form of human connection. The Japanese government clearly see her as a weapon, and they have a contract with her and treat her as a weapon, and she's placed in public safety at a high level and only reports to, I think, the Minister of Defense or something like that directly. So obviously they're aware she's a control devil, and they're using them to further her means, and she is someone who obviously wants connection. She does want control. She wants to be able to change the world to make it a better place for humanity. But it's not for a malicious reason. She wants to make it a better place for humanity. Obviously, she doesn't understand because she doesn't understand humans. So that's why it's failing. Because if she did understand humans, when she did the bad movie thing, she goes like, "Oh, well, bad movies shouldn't exist, obviously." But it's like, okay, well, you're in this movie theater, but her and Denji weren't laughing at the movie, but everyone else was laughing at the movie. So you're taking away their joy because you think the movie was bad. So obviously she is too focused in on herself and not outwards on other people. But if she had human connection, she might have had that, which is why the whole Nayuta thing is important. And unfortunately, Nayuta thing doesn't really work out too well either. I see her as of grading skill with Denji and Reze, where Denji was born a human. He was, obviously stuck into slavery pretty quickly, had an abusive dad. But then he met Pochita, who looked after him, kept him sane, and was his companion, and his connection for so much time during his life. And then when he died, Pochita made the sacrifice to then bring Denji back from the dead and become his heart. So he became a weapon, but it was out of pure necessity and to save his life. Reze was born a human. She became an orphan. So obviously dealing with trauma and everything out herself. Then was turned into a weapon by the Soviets, not by choice. She was forced to become it. She was tortured, everything like that. But she's able to find human connection through Denji eventually. So that is kind of the bottom two tiers. Makima's the other one. Makima she was born a weapon, and she is being seen as a weapon and used as a weapon her entire existence. Angel even said devil nature is to want humanity to suffer, and she doesn't. She wants humanity to thrive. She wants humanity to do better and to work better under her control. Obviously, very egotistical and all, but she's trying to find human connection, and her form of connection comes through her dogs because she obviously loves them and really cares for them. So, and obviously sees humanity like humanity sees dogs, like she said. So I think she's a fantastic character. I think her ending is really poor. They just kind of rushed it felt, because obviously he was rushing towards the end of part one because he was losing his main assistant who went on to write Dan Dan. And obviously, if you see Look Back, you see his opinion on assistants and stuff like that. So obviously, he got really hung up on that. And then the mom and Look Back Eri also. Goodbye Eri also look like Makima, and there's gonna be a spoiler here. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Goodbye Eri, the mom turns out to be a monster, and obviously Makima is meant to be Mama, so with the key in the middle, which is Japanese for tree, and it's cut down with chainsaws. If you leave that, you just got the Mama. Everything I got. So she's meant to be a motherly figure, obviously, to Denji, as well as being a romantic interest, not just Fujimoto just being Fujimoto. I think she's a fantastic character. I think if she's still alive, I'd probably prefer part 2 a lot more because everything in part 1 is solely connected to her. Part 1 couldn't exist in any way without her. Every single part of it seems to be connected to her. Whilst part 2, there's fucking 5 different secret agency groups and 17 different villains all scattered around with this is a major villain, but they actually don't want to be a major villain, but this is a major villain, but they're actually his friend, and they give him a hand job. It's very muddled. Well, this was just concise and really straightforward, and it really made a lot of sense. It was really well written. And Makima wasn't even in a lot of it. She was just really well used when she was in it. So yeah, I do like her a lot. I think she's a fantastic character. Katanaman's he's the 3rd longest running character who's still alive, and he's just I don't find funny or interesting or anything like that. I know he says some things that people turn to memes, like calling Asa a bitch. I just feel like he's been around for 180 challenges, and obviously he wasn't around for all the 180 challenges. I feel like you should have been able to do something with him. Fumiko is fine. She's not great or anything like that. She's fine. She has part 2 problem, where part 2 problem is most of the characters are young female schoolgirls, and everything they talk about is about Denji, generally to Denji. I think it's called the Bechdel test. It's the feminism test, where it sees if a female character can stand on their own or isn't just for the male gaze or whatever. And I think she kind of feels that, because I think it includes parts they have to speak to another female character that's not about the main male character. And I don't think she ever does. I think she would genuinely feel that test, because every time she talks, it's generally about Denji, mostly to Denji, and sometimes to other people, also still about Denji, or at least Pochita. So it's not, she kind of feels as a bit of a character there. But I like her. I like the karaoke scene, even though it's kind of ruined by Denji being so I'm so badass, I'm going to beat up all these people. It's okay, cool, bro. But I like the SCD Devil thing. It obviously implies some trauma in her past as well. Obviously, every character has trauma. I find it weird that the one who gave her all the organs, the aging devil, was just okay to die, because they're not a hive mind. So it's weird that Fumiko was okay to die, even though that Fumiko is that Fumiko. It feels weird. But I think she's a fine character. I kind of feel she's a bit wasted, but she's a part 2 female character, and unfortunately most of them are just about Denji. Yoshida's just He was interesting enough in the International Assassins arc. He's like the 4th longest running character who's still alive, who's still in it. Like Kishibe would be the other one, I guess. But he's like fine, I guess. He exists. I don't know anything about him. I don't think he's particularly interesting. He was interesting in the International Assassins because he's kind of mysterious, but now everyone's mysterious, so like, why would I give a fuck about him anymore? So I just generally don't care. I don't think he's dead. We didn't see a face. I think he's got a contract with the Octopus Devil as a hybrid or something like that. He's just Famine. Okay. Or should I say devil? Sorry, death. I personally think she's a death devil. The reason I think she is because we're all kind of waiting for death to awaken when the true form comes out. So I kind of feel like this is death. This is like the weakened version, and she will actually arise once the Nostradamus prophecy happens. Because once her head got cut off by Fakesaw Man, an ant beside her got its head cut off, and she regrew her head. And it's kind of like Makima and Yoru's contract, but on a much smaller scale. So much so that a single ant is enough to regrow her head. And that's weird. That doesn't seem like something Famine should do. That feels like something Death should be able to do. So I feel like she is actually Death. As a character right now, she is nothing. She doesn't exist. She shouts salvation, does karate poses. Cool. She showed up, instantly got beaten by Fakesaw Man, then instantly got beaten by the person claiming to be Death, and eaten and turned into a pawn. And I just don't think pawns are overly interesting. It's like a lot of people said Nayuta might come back as a pawn. I don't want that because pawns aren't interesting. It's like, okay, Angel was a fantastic character, but the second he got chained by Makima, he stopped being an interesting character because he wasn't a character anymore. That's how I view pawns. I can't trust that they're actually them or really them, so who cares? Death, or should I say Famine, obviously a lot of her stuff is related to food. She wants to survive because of human culture, and a lot of it's food related. Even when she was talking about Nayuta trying to convince her to join her side, she said there won't be any more pizzas or something like that. She eats her people to make them into pawns. Like, obviously, it's implied that if she kills them, they just become her pawns anyway. But it seems weird that she specifically eats people, and her her bodyguard is Falling, who's dressed like a chef. So personally, I think she is still Famine, especially with like the whole bullshit of, well, I have friends, I can't use my powers, so everyone will die. I feel like that's an ass pull as a reason for her to not use her powers. Whilst I was doing my recording, I very suddenly realized I actually didn't really talk about her character too much. She's like, okay, I guess. She's a bit bland. She doesn't really have much personality. I don't really care about her, honestly, too much. She's one of those ones that if she is actually meant to be the big bad, she's actually meant to be Death, I'd prefer she not be on screen nearly as much as she is, because it's like the primals. The more they're on screen and they're meant to be a big, intimidating bad guy, I don't really care too much. And because she contradicts herself so much, it kind of goes back and forth, I feel like they're lying to the reader more than they're lying to, like, the other characters. So I feel like she's kind of deliberately meant to be a bit of a red herring, and unfortunately I just don't really like her that much. She's like, fine. She's like 7 out of 10, I guess. Yoru is like fine. She's like fine. A lot of people call her Makima 2.0, obviously because she like stole a bunch of things from her, like bang, like her poses, like her sitting pose, even like her contract, like her ability to, like, if she feels she like owns you, like Makima obviously, if she feels she's better than you, she can control you. If Yoru feels she owns you, she can change into things. So they're all very similar. They're horsewomen, so I guess that makes a wee bit sense. But she's fine. I just don't find her nearly as interesting as Makima. Makima's a schemer villain. She's like working behind the scenes. She had a deep personal connection to the main character and all the characters until the end, when everything starts getting revealed, and it's really well done. Yoru has been there since the start, and once your major villain gives Denji a hand job in an alleyway, I'm not going to take them seriously anymore. I'm sorry, I don't. It's like, oh, cool. She's meant to be like the big scary villain. She given Denji a hand job. It's like fantastic. If you just like a villain who's just gonna like trade blows with Pochita, like, I guess she works fine, but she's just not really interested in me. Her like running around just killing random civilians in the street, it's also a bad look for Denji, because Denji was just like following her around, be like, hey, stop that, and not really trying to stop her in any way. It's not a great look, but she works as just like a brawler type villain who's not intelligent or interesting, really. She's just like, yeah, that's fine. Asa is fine as well. She would be higher than Yoru. She started really, really well. Like, her, if she had been the main character in part 2, I feel it would be a lot better. But she kind of got Jon Snow'd. And if anyone doesn't know, Jon Snow was in Game of Thrones. He was a fan favorite character for like first 6 seasons. And I think it was the 7th season. Another super popular character finally met up with him. He instantly fell in love with her, and then became a meme with him going, "My queen, I don't want the throne. I want you, my queen." And that's it. Everything about him, his entire existence, became solely about this female character, and he lost all his personality. He didn't want to be king anymore. He didn't want to lead armies anymore. He didn't want to fight anymore. He just wanted to become her king and marry her because he loved her so much. And that feels like Asa. So much of Asa kind of feels lost once she started like kind of fawning over Denji after Denji saved her, and it just became less interesting. Like there's the bit where she wants to like shoot herself in the head, do the bang thing, which I personally think is probably going to happen. I think she will try and regain control of Yori at some point and kill herself. I feel that's more or less what's going to happen. But I don't know. I don't know if they'd like promote promote suicide randomly. And I feel like she was a really good character, and her just obsession now with Denji has really taken away because she's just fallen into a line of like 5, 6 other female characters in part 2 who are all just obsessed with Denji, and all they talk about is Denji, and it's a lot less interesting. Obviously, with the dad thing, got a wee bit more interesting. Her potentially tripping to kill Bucky, a wee bit more interesting. But yeah, I would have preferred her staying like kind of separate. It would have been a lot better in my opinion. Nayuta is going wasted. I think no one will ever argue that. I feel like Fujimoto really doesn't like Makima as a character. I feel he doesn't like part 1 in general, but like with how quickly he kind of wrapped up part 1, and then introduced Nayuta kind of like a day later, like apparently Makima died, went to hell, died within 1 nanosecond, went right back to Earth, and then instantly was found by Kishibe, because it was like a day or 2 later where he's like, by the way, I find this person in China. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Also, not a great sign as well for Denji, because Denji's first thought when he saw her was killing her and eating her, which is, you know, fantastic for Denji as a character, seeing like an 8-year-old girl. Honestly, when she first appeared, I think a lot of people probably thought that it was going to just be Makima pretending to be a little girl, because, you know, they did the finger bite thing, and he immediately was like, oh my god, this is Makima, because he instantly recognized the finger bite. I don't know how a little girl could bite the same way as a full-grown woman, but like, cool, okay. But then in part 2, they kind of showed that it wasn't actually Makima in there, because she had to do the Loki TV series thing where they wanted Loki to become a good guy, but the original Loki was dead, so they had a new Loki. So he just watched the other Loki parts in the other movies, and it became good. It feels like it kind of did that, where like she like looked at Denji's memories of Makima. Denji hasn't done a good job of really raising her, because she's still like kind of really bad and awful a lot of times to him, but she's like a kid, so you're kind of a bit more forgiving. I like her enough as a character, but it feels like the Nayuta in the short story had more character than her, and that Nayuta could only say like death, destruction, mutilation, and that's all she could say. She still had more character. Nayuta feels like she could be replaced by like a cute pigeon that Denji likes giving crumbs to occasionally, and Public Safety shows up and goes like, hey Denji, we're gonna kill this pigeon if you ever turn into Chainsaw Man again, because she's so unimportant to the plot, especially as a horsewoman. Like the horsewomen really are in shambles right now, because Yoru has a lot of personality but isn't really interesting in my opinion. Death or Famine has not very much personality and isn't very interesting. Fami barely exists, and Night is dead. It's like the horsewomen who are meant to bring in the apocalypse. They're kind of all over the place and not great, you know. Like even if Makima came back right now, she'd be so underpowered compared to like Yoru and Death. Like, so what would even be the point of bringing her back? Yeah, she just feels like really wasted, and I just don't particularly care if she comes back at this point, which does suck. I would have felt more for her character if it was just a straight reincarnation of Makima who had the same memories. I would have felt something more, because at least she would have a personality. But she's not in it nearly enough to have a personality, and Denji's barely reacted to her death, so like, who cares? Pochita is just it's a cute design as a mascot, it certainly is, but I can't really tie him up to evil black Chainsaw Man. I just don't think he's an overly interesting character. It feels weird that he can seemingly see things and at the same time interact with Denji, like especially his dream world thing. The dream world thing has never been introduced as to how it exists. That Makima was in the dream world at one point, Denji can go into the dream world, that Asa's gone into the dream world. It feels really weird that we just have a dream world where characters can just meet up to dump exposition and shit like that, and then just kind of go like, oh, never mind. And no one finds it weird. Like Asa doesn't seem to find it weird right now. She's in Denji's brain talking to Denji, who is a child version of himself, obviously because of trauma and all. I do understand that, don't come at me, but like it feels weird that this has just never been explained, and it's like, oh, is this another one of Pochita's just magic random bullshit powers? You know, he doesn't have enough magic random bullshit powers already. He also has dream control and can pull people into dreams like power and all to resurrect her and shit like that. It's like, oh, okay. It feels weird that he doesn't tell Denji more pertinent things like Makima being the control devil or something like that. I don't know, it feels a wee bit weak. Denji is just as well. You probably thought he was going to go in trash, so I've like kind of bashed him a lot, but he's had some really good scenes. I didn't find him like irritating during the Reze arc or the International Assassins arc or even the Control Devil arc. He was generally solid enough for the majority of it. It's mainly in part 2 he has really regressed as a character, which is not what you want. And people always say, well, he regressed because of Makima's trauma. And it's like, okay, it's 130 chapters later. It's been longer than all of part 1 put together. Can we maybe unregress. And I mean actually unregress, like see him actually working through things and dealing with trauma and stuff like that, as opposed to what they're probably just going to do and have like, you know, a bit where he's like, well, I killed my dad and I'm a good person. And people actually had to ask, is he being serious here? Because a lot of people were asking, is this sarcasm? Does he actually think that? And there were full-blown arguments. You saw people like genuinely arguing with each other. Does he even mean that? Because like, how can he possibly think he's a good person? Because he's not. He's not a good person. But is he saying that to make Asa smile? Is he saying that to like lie to himself? Is he saying that because he actually believes it? Is he insane? He's just such a model character, and when the main character of your manga is unlikable, I find it really hard to really give a shit. And Pochita and him as a pair, I do not like whatsoever, and I find it really weird because I didn't think people would be like Pochita glazers, but like fuck me, there's some people who really love him. Denji I kind of understand more because people can relate to him, but Pochita I was genuinely surprised. But that's all 163. I don't know if anyone sat through it this long. Thank you very much if you did, to be fair. Hear me ramble about all these random characters. Who do I think is going to win in the popularity poll or do well? I think Reze is going to get a massive boost because of the movie. I think top 10 are probably going to be all 5 horsewomen. I don't think Makima's going to be top 2 anymore. Reze, Denji, Pochita, Asa, Par. I don't think Aki's going to be in it anymore, which is unfortunate. I really like Aki, but I really would like him to be in the top 5 still at the very minimum. I don't really think anyone else really falling. Maybe I think people like falling quite a bit. But I think that's probably gonna be it. I think that's probably gonna be right at the top 10. Kobeni, I don't think she'll be in the top 10 anymore. Yoshida might. He's very popular with the female fan base. And like I said, Pochita himself. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you didn't make it this far, I hope you have a good one. I'm gonna have like a review of the Reze movie out probably once I've seen it, if I can think about anything to actually say about it. But yeah, have a good one, guys. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.